And we are live for another Biddle. Good
Hey,
evening,
hey.
folks.
Good evening.
Hey, how are you all?
Excellent.
Awesome.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Hey, I should silence my phone, you think?
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good idea because mine's on extra loud. Everybody goes to their phone.
Good evening to everybody in the chat. Percolator, D Sky, Lamer, Jacob, and Logan so far. So,
Evening.
last week we talked about Arco Linux. So you guys are going to have to help me out because I didn't have time all week to do Arco Linux. So did anybody else do Arco Linux?
Yep.
Yes.
Mine's on.
Mine's on.
And
It's good. Eric does some good stuff. It suffers from all of the typical Arch problems. I noticed a couple of people on Telegram group tried to run it and then ran into problems with the updates. Now, if one thing I've learned about Arch is it tries to sound all complicated, but a couple of times the updates come down, and if you read the message, it says, "Oh, I can't update because this already exists." Well, as long as this isn't anything major, go and delete it, run the update again, and it works.
That's exactly what happened to me, Zeb, when because I did a video on it, and I was getting my way through the video, and I was reading it, and I thought, well, it doesn't. What does it say? It already exists, or something like that.
Yeah, it was something to do with three.
but do you know what it was? I mean, do you know what was causing it to happen?
They're just themes. They were just themes that existed.
Yeah, and Eric has already posted a video on what went wrong and why, and he's got back to the original themer to ask him what I think is some sort of permissions problem where normally it would come along and say, overwrite yourself, please, because I've got a new version of you. But
okay.
But it didn't do. So all you had to do was open Thunart in root, go to those individual directories, and there was about 8 files in each directory. Delete them, go back to the updater, Bob's your uncle.
Sweet.
Yeah, that worked for me, actually. Yeah, and I was thinking to myself, oh, not during the video, really. I think I deleted 3 major files. There's a whole heap of them underneath that. And once I deleted those 3, everything was fine. The updates worked fine. So, yeah, I was just thinking, I was happy that it worked because I was...
But I thought there were some people on the on Telegram who were having problems with installing it.
But that's part of what they were having.
Yeah,
that was part of it.
It is Arch, though, isn't it?
Yes.
It is. Yes.
Well, I don't know. Depending on who you talk to, some people say it's not quite Arch or it's changed from Arch.
It's certainly different, yeah.
It's Arch derivative.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Joe,
and I downloaded it.
Hey, guys.
What's going on, Joe?
Hey, Joe.
You can see I'm in a little different location. I'm kind of limping along here.
Did you blow up your computer, Joe?
Actually, I tore it apart.
Same thing.
This is my wife would kill me for showing you this, but I don't know if you can see it. But I don't know. I'm showing over there. You see that over there? Am I pointing it right?
Oh, wow. Yeah. The empty case, you mean?
Well, yeah. I wish it was. It's a smaller version of what I have of my file cabinet computer. So it's a Ryzen, anti-Ryzen. But the problem with it was that I put the cooler on it. This case is not a silent case. I'm used to the silent cases. And that Wraith Spire was supposed to be such a nice cooler. I'm very sensitive to sounds. It had such a high-pitched whine to it.
Mm-hmm.
It was driving me nuts. So I actually have a knock to a cooler, but I had to order AM4 brackets for it before I could put it back in there. So we'll see how it goes. But right now I'm actually, I'll show you this one too. You can see it if I'm pointing it right. This little thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. See the size of my hand? That's what I'm running right now. That's actually a full-blown workstation. So I can't even tell.
Is it Acer by any chance?
Huh?
Is it Acer?
ASRock.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, ASRock. Yeah, nice.
It's a 110W. I just put I'm on an NVMe. I just literally got Ubuntu Mate 1804 set up, and it's already giving me hiccups with the video. I don't know what it is. It's been working. I mean, I had you know what? I downloaded Peppermint Toad because I figured if I had problems with Ubuntu Mate, I was going to do Peppermint. So
I think there's also another option. It's called Kubuntu.
Yeah, I know.
That's fun.
Mhm.
But the
Nice.
NVMe, I'll tell you what, this thing's screaming. I've got a 275 gig Crucial SSD in there it's got Windows 10 on it because that's the way I originally built it to sell this. But then I put the NVMe in here. It's a 250 gig, and then I've got a 500 gig mechanical drive that I split the volumes on there, so I have my Linux separate from my Windows stuff. But anyway, that's my story. And
Cool. So, Rocco, you got 5 more people now to find out, did they do the Arco challenge?
I know.
I did.
Joe, what did you do? How'd you make out?
I loaded it up on my laptop here. I didn't play with it a lot, but what I did do of it, I like it. I really do. I think it's
Nice.
polished. It's nice. I had no problems with it. I really didn't. For what little bit I did work on it, I mean, it seemed to run good.
I'm just wondering, Zeb, if the 6.9.2 does not have that error, because he did update it just recently from the 9.1 to the 9.2. So I'm thinking maybe the 9.2 doesn't have that error that we come across.
What error did you guys have? Because I really didn't have any errors, and I think it's the 9.2 that I load, because I didn't load it immediately after you guys did it. I loaded it probably midweek.
It was a user share themes thing that wouldn't allow the update to carry on any further until you deleted them. So obviously you didn't come across that.
Arc Dark and Arc Darker.
Yeah, something like that.
Arc and Archy.
What the difference between Dark and Darker is, I don't know. It's just bizarre.
Yeah,
no, I
actually,
can tell you. I can
Go
tell
on
you.
then.
Yep.
Darker.
It's
It's
got ER.
actually lighter.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what it is. It's ridiculous.
Arc Dark is the dark version. Arc Darker is dark with light elements. It's like a
Which would
hybrid
be
version.
Lighter, darker, lighter. Really?
Darker-
Okay.
They
I
should
think
just call it
darker
hybrid.
actually-
Arc hybrid.
the darker
Good evening,
bit
Ace.
The darker bit is referring to the left-hand side of the window, and that's the darker bit. That's why they call it darker. It's the when you got
Yeah,
your
that's
window.
not how design works. They shouldn't call it darker.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
not how life works, man. It's not design.
That's not how contrast works
That's
at all. It's,
confusing.
Just thought I'd give an explanation. That's.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. There's actually other themes that do it. I think Numix does the same thing where they call it darker when it's not.
Yeah, there's another one that does that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah,
I think they all do it. It's just quite bizarre.
It's is it a Linux thing?
So,
Yeah, it
so
must
Barb,
be.
how did the Arco challenge
poorly
go?
named things.
How did my Arco challenge go? I didn't do it.
Come on, Barb.
Are you
Barbara,
kidding?
of all people, I expect you to be the first one to do it.
After the Antragos one, I don't want nothing that is Arch based is going to touch any of my equipment ever again.
That's so harsh.
Thing gave me boot barf and ate my grub. That was done.
Yeah, but you know what? There must
But
be
grubs are
something-
high in protein.
Yeah, I know they are.
There must be something with us that if it isn't a distro that we're hopping and breaking, I tear apart a perfectly good computer that had nothing wrong with it, and just ask.
Well, I mean that whole high pitched sound thing. There are some people. There's actually been like a thing that found that some people can hear this high pitched sound from the computer that other people can't hear at all.
Yeah.
I can't hear it, but I know.
Sorry, what did you say?
I can hear it.
Exactly. That.
No, but see, that's the thing, though, is that like I have trouble hearing people like talking and stuff like that, but I can hear awkward sounds like that a mile away. I don't know what it is; it drives me insane. But
And that's why I built silent cases. I had the two of them, and those cases, those R5s, they're dead silent. And
R5s are nice, man.
this, I bought that's a Meshify, which is all air, and I
Mhm.
wanted something to run really cool. And I mean, temperature wise, I didn't go with the 1700X. It was only $40 more, but the performance difference was negligible by what I was researching. So I just thought, well, I'll just do the 1600 and see how that goes. But yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't like it was horrible, but I think probably my silent case, I probably wouldn't have heard it. But in this thing, because there's a top screen and then the front is obviously it's Meshify, it's all open. So I don't know if that's what it was, but we'll see. I've got the Noctua, they're ugly as sin, but I've got the Noctua fans in there now, and I actually it won't run two fans. I ordered a splitter for it too to run the two fans in the front, but I'll have to let you guys know how it goes. But so Mike, you said it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a very common thing. I don't know what percentage it is, but they found that a significant percentage of people have that ability to hear this annoying high pitched sound on electronics, and it could be all types of electronics.
Yeah. It's a feature,
it's
not a
also
bug.
the same thing with remember old fashioned CRT color TVs and color monitors.
Oh, I hate that.
You
Yeah.
had a 15,000 hertz oscillator. That's the same frequency. That's what you hear. That I could hear that across a room and it would drive me crazy.
Well, I'm glad I'm tone deaf.
Yeah.
You guys got dog's ears or something. You got dog's ears or something.
Yeah.
Don't blow a dog whistle around me,
I
okay?
didn't listen to a lot of super
I'm a
loud.
little more.
But I can hear that electronic sound, like even in the monitors. This is my old design monitor that used to be sitting on the desk behind me in the other room. And then the same thing, even on my new monitor, I can still hear when that turns on. I could hear the electronic sounds. It's weird, and yet my wife will say, "You don't hear anything else." I say, and I said, "Well, you know, it's the monotone, the dead zone. There's something things that you can tune out. I guess I don't know."
And
Well, selective hearing
can actually affect you psychologically because you may not even hear it, but your body will actually detect it.
Well, I do have issues. In fairness, I do have issues with different tones. There are some things that I just flat out seem like I can't hear.
See, my spidey sense flares up. I got like the hairs on my arms; they just stick straight up.
Spidey sense.
So Chicken, did you do the Arco challenge?
No, Rocco, how's it going?
Oh, that's a lovely cup there, Chicken. I wish I had one myself.
Oh, I bet you do.
I bet the coffee tastes better in that.
I stay neutral.
So did you do the Arco challenge?
I did actually. I did it with GNOME because I for some reason couldn't install the XFCE version on my laptop without like the display breaking, which I have an idea why, but it's not Arco's fault at all. So
It's Arco's fault.
Yes, we'll go with that. I like it. No, it's been great. It's actually really snappy. Faster than Manjaro, which was cool. I know that's not a hard mark to beat, even though Manjaro is pretty fast. It's still a little slower than other arches. It was very stable. Like I threw a few things at it that I thought would kind of kill it, and it didn't die. So
nice.
There you go.
Nice, Michael. Did you try it? Did you do it?
I successfully downloaded the ISO.
Me too. You got as far as I did.
I love it. I love it.
I do plan on testing it anyway, still even after, but no.
Sister, weren't you the one that installed it while we were talking last week?
Yes.
I remember
my
that.
audio actually working right now? Hello?
And what do you think of it?
Like, is my audio working?
Yes.
It's working. You're a little low, but it's working.
Low. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, I'd rather be a little low than like blow everybody's ears out. Do I need to adjust it up a little bit?
Well, like Michael? Yeah.
If you want to, that's fine. But what do you think of Arco?
Well, I installed it on the LVM, and then I moved it to this computer. So I actually have it installed and running on this machine. It's a Q66 with 8 gigs of RAM and an Evo SSD. And I literally just made an image of the LVM and migrated it over onto the Evo and just basically just pushed the image.
And everything works perfectly.
Yeah, well, that error you guys were talking about where it got stuck, I think on the themes.
Mm-hmm.
I just did an Arch thing and fixed it. And other than that, I mean, it runs great. It only uses about 820 megabytes of 8 gigs of RAM, and it's only using about 7.9 gigs of a 250 gig SSD.
Nice. That sounded very cool, very technical. You lost me at LVM.
All right, so LVM is a Linux virtual environment. So basically,
right.
Instead of it being a KVM, which is also a kernel level virtual environment. So there's different versions of that. So because it's Arch, I was able to use an LVM instead of a KVM. And then there's also LVM as in the form of like storage.
Logical volume management.
So there's different terms, but
there's also KVM for keyboard and mouse.
Yes, exactly. So that's the problem with the terms. If you refer to one or the other, then people get lost. So
we're back on darker and darker again, aren't we? Then LVM and LVM.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yep.
It's definitely
Anyway.
a Linux thing.
Well,
Colin.
and then
My favorite part is the kernel has a system in there that is for managing certain types of features, but they chose the unfortunate initialism of DRM.
Right?
That was bad.
It's like there's DRM in the kernel. It's like, yeah, but
No.
it doesn't mean that.
No. So go ahead, Sister. What were you saying?
All right. So is my volume a little better now?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good.
Okay.
Much.
I'm not blowing your ears out.
No.
No,
Okay,
no,
not
it's
at all.
good.
All right. So yeah. So I did that. I can't get Steam to work very well. That's a whole other issue. That's an Arch thing. I'll have to fix a few things. I can't get Steam to run, but I installed it. It just won't
Step
run.
What's it saying in the terminal? Because there's only one of two fixes normally.
Oh no, it won't even. It won't. It doesn't. It has nothing. It's an issue with the driver. It has nothing to do with Steam itself or with Arco. It has to do with the video display driver that's on this machine. It errors out, and the screen does funny things. And I don't want to do it right now because it might give people epileptic seizures because it does. So, but other than that, yeah, it browses the web. I was able to do some work in Meld on it. I was able to do some dev work. It ran Python fine. I mean, it does all this. I mean, it works like a workstation. Would I ditch it, or would I ditch Pop! OS to use it full time? I mean, the eye candy is okay to a point, but there's certain functions and features with other distributions that I just, as a daily driver, I would stay with them because of ecosystem kind of things.
Right.
I mean, Arco is cool. I may leave it on this machine. I may change it. I don't know.
Now I don't know if don't remember if you said it or not, but are you normally an Arch guy or not, or are you more of an Ubuntu based guy?
I'm actually a Gentoo guy, but that's a whole.
Oh.
I'm sorry,
Wow.
that wasn't an option.
Yeah, that I had two options there. It was Arch and
Okay, out of the two, I usually do Ubuntu or
Okay.
more specifically Pop! OS or Xubuntu if I'm doing anything in the Ubuntu realm. But other than that, it's usually if I'm gonna go Arch, I'm usually gonna go Gentoo instead.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Just for management purposes, and I have scripts and I have about 25 years worth of things that I and of course when I'm running Gentoo, I'm running i3, so
Naturally.
yeah,
of course.
so but I have that on a machine, but that's not one that is currently displayed. It's on a virtual, and yeah, it's on a screen that's behind over here.
Right.
Cool.
Dreaming Wolf, you're muted, brother.
Does that work better?
Yes. It does.
Yeah.
Okay. I dug out a microphone that's been gathering dust for years to try it, and it's been a pain in the butt trying to get it running. In spite of being preempted by Derek over at DistroTube doing his review, I actually threw in BSPWM version of Arco, and it's Arch. I usually always have an Arch up and running, so it was easy. It was a 10-minute install, and I spent the next half an hour throwing everything I normally throw onto a distro onto it, and it just runs.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. So, did you use any of Eric's BWSPM scripts, or has he not got any?
No, he has them all set in, and he has a little conky on the screen when you first install it that has the main key bindings all listed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And between that and all the videos that he has explaining how to move on and create your own scripts, it's a much easier than when I first encountered Awesome and tried to learn a tiling window manager. This time it just dropped in and it was there.
Same way he does i3. He has the key binding set in the wallpaper or something like that, where it just kind of shows you what to use. So you get used to it, and then you can do it once you're comfortable with it.
And it's those little touches that for me mean I would install Arco over Arch every day of the week.
Yep.
Yeah, that's understandable.
He does a really good job making it very user friendly to just step in and start running.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but for a number of times when I was just, chatting with people on Telegram about different stuff related to Linux, there was a number of times people would spell out tilting, or no, it was tiling, right?
Tiling.
Tiling window.
Dialing.
And for some reason, a number of times I just glanced over it and thought it was tilting for some reason. And I'm thinking,
yeah, well, we've got.
I mean, you can totally. And also, you in the other term of tilting, you could totally get mad at running Arch and start tilting.
Nowhere near Arch or a number of other things.
Tilting, isn't that done on horses with lances?
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought that was
Sure.
jousting.
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 Cow tipping.
Windmills. Now, if you were on
Really?
a horse and you were Don Quixote and the windmills, that's okay. Tilting windmills.
Really?
No. Jousting. That's that group of people that has the design called Augeschutz, which means hurt a lot.
Very much.
Mr. D,
Also, it was a competition in American Gladiators.
Are you from Milwaukee by chance, Streaming Wolf, or at least the Wisconsin area?
Currently living here, the last 27 years, I think.
Like how you
The only reason why I say
it
it
was
is
a very
just
temporary thing.
stepping in when I saw the logo. Go Brewers.
Colin, what were you saying?
Back to Linux.
How dare you, Joe? How dare you change the topic from Linux?
I was just saying, Mr. DFY
The
said
Brewers use Linux.
tilting was pinball machines.
Yep. Tilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Isn't
like
that?
I said,
Are you supposed to? Speaking of pinball
No,
and
you're
not,
not supposed to tilt in your pinball machines. No.
why is that a thing that lets you do it and makes you notify that it's there? Like, what is it for?
You mean on a real pinball machine? It's because you probably beat on it too much.
Very
There's
aggressive pinball.
Yes, very aggressive.
I see.
When I
There's
was
a level of
in
tilt
there was
that
a
is
whole room of
acceptable.
real life pinball machines.
Yeah, I never
And
got that. I just hit the buttons and I never why does it say tilt? I don't even
No, well,
hit
it's
the
because
button.
people start shaking them.
A good pinball player will know the
Yeah.
level of tilt for
Never.
every.
Picking up the machine is just a little bit extreme.
Yeah, that gets you a tilt.
Depends
Especially
upon
when
your
it's
definition of extreme.
That's true.
So
Where
I think we just
it would hit him on the head with a hammer. If the pinball machine thought you tilted it.
all right. So,
Chicken's
chicken.
got some snacks for us all.
Yeah, I've decided to one up your guys' Marmite challenge with some Carolina Reaper.
What exactly
I'll
is
do
that?
Super hot
It's
peppers.
Super hot. It's the,
Oh
it's the
my
second hottest
gosh.
pepper in
Right.
existence.
Yeah, so
You're not going to do that
Super
right
hot.
now, though, right?
oh yeah, absolutely.
Because we need you to be able to converse with us, and I don't think you're going to be able to after that.
I'm
It
sure
will
I'll
be-
be mobile at least.
Have you got a sink available?
You will definitely be running from that chair. That's true.
You got a sink
You have a lot
available
of
next
water
to
You're
you?
not going to.
or
You're
milk.
not going to really do it, are you?
Yeah, you shouldn't drink milk, but if you have water, that's
Oh,
I mean, not water,
get
not
him
water.
a dribble bucket.
Vice
Get him a
versa.
dribble
Remember, it's all the pain response. That's what it is.
Oh, I
Do you have
cried.
a drone
Yeah.
ready?
bucket. He hasn't even had one
Okay,
yet.
so
you already
you
in
take
there?
your finger, you touch the Reaper, and then you do this.
Yes, perfect.
And
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Rub your eyes a little bit. No, you're not. Are you really?
He is. He's going to do it. He loves them.
There we go.
Get
We'll
the
see how
dribble
this goes.
bucket.
it's going to go very quickly, very painfully.
I was going to say, it's not the first 5 seconds. It's the next 45 seconds that count when it starts to read.
Yeah, then as it goes through your digestive system.
You've now got all these little reapers biting into your tongue, getting below the surface. And no matter what you do, it's just going to get super hot.
And once that's done, you can look forward to the next day.
I can already feel it in my stomach. So hot.
Feel it in his stomach.
Already sweating.
Well, that was an.
Anyway,
Anyway.
Chicken. Can you still talk?
Maybe.
Okay, so there's this game called Minecraft.
Oh yes, isn't it wonderful?
And my question is, like, you really paid for that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. You know what? It's all about those pixels, man.
Well,
I was going to say, where's Ryan? Yeah.
I paid $32.97 for it. Not really. Please no.
So do you use the snap
You had me
version at
worried.
all?
$1.280.
Yes, I've used the previous version and the one that's currently being worked on.
The one that's in the
Edge channel?
Edge
The new
channel
fishy.
with the new launcher?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's amazing, and
B, you need some water?
yeah, I need some little bit of water.
His brain isn't working well.
You seem to be getting red for some reason,
Yes.
Chicken. I don't know why, but
This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about. Take and sip with that elementary cup. This is
Oh yeah.
He's blending in with his
Don't
curtain.
you have a whole big jug with ice cubes sitting next to you?
Water's just going to spread it. You should be eating bread.
I played with it a little bit today. Martin Wimpress had asked me. He pinged me. I was like, "What?" He goes, "Hey, Chicken, you wanna test a new Minecraft snap?" And I was all over it. I was like, "Yes, hello, you're speaking my language."
Did they have a Technic?
They don't. Okay, so I worked on a private snap of Technic and @Launcher just to kind of try things out because I'm not really good with snaps, and it's doable. But I don't know if I would feel confident in publishing anything like that with my level of ability because it would likely be broken.
Well, I mean, that's what I play. I only play like Technic, and then I actually play a server that has its own like modifications, like its own packages and everything.
Oh,
I
sweet.
use that to pull everything in. So I literally just I just run Technic. I don't even have to have a snap for it. So
That is awesome.
So
I don't actually run Technic. What I run is Rocket League.
Yeah.
You're missing out, guys. Missing out.
or Ballistic Overkill. Or Ballistic
Yeah, that too.
Overkill.
Ballistic
That's the
Overkill.
worst part about having a computer tore apart. I'm having withdrawals from the gaming right now.
I'm going to start
Eric.
our big.
About me wanting to publish whatever, because of your skill. I remember a story about some young kid, what was it? Making a commit to the kernel or something because something was misspelled.
Oh yeah, that happens.
Something was misspelled.
Typo commits happen all the time.
Someone's got their YouTube or Twitter feed on.
I think Frank has it on.
Yeah.
Frank,
Yeah,
is there
just
any
mute
way you
your
can mute the chat?
the stream.
So as we all know, something was misspelled.
Yeah, there's a lot of that times that people submit updates. They submit commits to the kernel, and it's just like tiny little fixing a character here and there, and fixing typos and stuff like that. That happens quite a bit.
That's pretty awesome.
Just wondering, Rocco, did Lamer actually do Arco Linux challenge?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay.
Get out.
Get out. He had said you said in chat you were messing with Peppermint, right?
I'm not alone.
Yeah, I'm on Peppermint right now.
Good man. You can stay.
Oh my God, Zeb.
On Arch, I got a docking station for this ThinkPad. Well, Arch, you got to install the Bumblebee drivers, then you got to install the docking station drivers, have to configure that with the resolutions, and it's just hassle to do it.
Right. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Derek, you get your sound working yet?
Yeah, you guys can hear me?
Yeah.
You certainly can.
All right.
Do we need to call an ambulance for a chicken over here? Look at him. I hope you got somebody there. You fall off that chair. You look like you're about to die.
It's hot.
Yeah. Hello,
Go
it's
get
hot.
yourself a piece of bread. That water isn't going to cut it. When you eat something hot, you got to get something to wake it up. Go get yourself some
bread or some milk.
Strong brew of
milk. Yeah.
So,
further and further to the side. I'll wait for him to fall off that chair.
Derek, did you do Arco?
Yeah, I actually did do Arco. I didn't know you guys were doing Arco originally, but I installed it on a laptop because I was doing something on my channel with it this week. So,
and what do you think, man?
I like it. I've liked it every time I've looked at it. I installed their Arco Linux B version. That one, you have your choice of desktop environment or window manager. I did BSPWM, which is a tiling window manager I've never used, but it's slick. I mean, anybody that's looking for an easy way to get into tiling window managers without having to do all the configuration, writing a config file themselves, Eric Dubois' default configs, they just work. So
nice.
So what's the difference between B and D? Because I did D. I've got D on this now.
The difference is C.
Yes.
D is just a base install.
I should have seen that coming, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
D is just a base install, and then he has scripts on GitHub that you can pull down to do the install of the desktop environment and all the other apps that you want, and you configure the scripts how you want. B,
that's
a full-fledged desktop environment already installed in the image.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you choose the image you want, do you?
Just the way to remember the different set of Arco Linux, it's I before E except after C.
Oh, Michael, really?
And none of them make any sense.
Yeah, I've done the Arco Linux D install. It's more of a command line install. It's you need to be familiar with doing a command line install for something like Arch to do that one really.
So again, though, but what are the benefits of that? Can you strip out stuff that you don't need? Can you tailor it to your hardware? Does it end up more like feeling Gen 2 where it's specific to your kit?
No.
The D is yes, because it's just the base Arch install. You get a graphical installer, but all it installs is it dumps you into a command line.
That's right.
Login.
So do you then have to know what type of Ethernet card you've got, what type of
No, the hardware is taken care of in the background. It's just all the software you decide what you want to add in.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you do, you run the graphical installer. Then once you reboot, you're into the command line only.
Correct.
And then once you do that, you run the mirror and the updates and all that, and then you pull down the scripts from GitHub, and then that pulls down the folders into your home folder, and then you change directories to that, and then you run the scripts, and then that installs everything for you.
And you can edit all those scripts ahead of time. You don't have to install everything that Eric Dubois, suggests you to install. You can delete things, add things to these scripts. If
just hashtag them out.
Yeah.
You just hashtag the ones you don't want.
And if you know exactly what you want, you don't even need to use the scripts. You can just install as you want as you go.
Right. True. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so a very serious question. Why would you put yourself through that headache? Just install the distro and then delete what you don't want.
Because he set it up as a learning experience. He has different levels, basically from beginner through advanced. He tries to walk you through the Arch experience from an absolute noob. And then as you get comfortable with it, he takes you to like the B level where you already have the desktop environment installed. When you're comfortable with that and comfortable with the command line, then you do a D install where you're basically starting from scratch and have to know a little bit more. He has
and there's one more step after that.
Environment.
I'm comfortable with the command line, but I'll stick in kindergarten. Give me the ISO, install it next.
And he no problem
do it that way.
He set it up for those who want to learn.
It's a slow progression of learning right up to installing the Arch way. So the last phase of the process is installing from the Arch way from the Arch wiki. So that's the last lot of videos.
I think the idea is really good.
By the end of it, you could say you know.
Yeah. Well, it took me 9 years to get here, so I think I'll be dead before I do the terminal.
But once you do that, then you can do Gen 2.
Frank.
Yeah.
Really?
Gen 2 from above.
I think I'll stick to Arch at the max. I think that's about it for me.
Well, my sound wasn't working is because I just hopped right before you guys started streaming, and I just was able to get here.
That's called an extreme distro hop?
Yeah. Just talk to Zeb about that. He
knows all about that.
Well, just make sure you give me an easy challenge this week.
Derek, what's your top 2?
We still haven't worked out if Frank's mic's working. Frank.
I've been trying.
Yeah,
He's
you're
there.
right.
Yay.
You people won't stop talking.
I figured out mine didn't work because I didn't have my mixer board turned on.
So, Frank, you tried Arco?
I have tried Arco. I'm on Arco right now.
And
nice.
You love it. Tell us about it.
In fact, I used to be Arch Labs, and Arch Labs was wonderful until they forked off into what they're doing now. And this has replaced everything I used to love about Arch Labs, and this is wonderful. The only thing I got going against it is my Epson printer isn't working quite right with it, and I can't run Borderlands off my Steam. Steam is running, but Borderlands won't boot, so I'm still having to figure that out.
Broken.
Fire off a question for Eric. He'll sort it for you.
Does it give you this funny screen issue, or does it just not want to launch?
It just doesn't want to launch.
Okay.
Ask Eric. Go onto Eric's site or one of his videos and ask him. He should be able to answer that for you. He's pretty responsive.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. And you do know that Eric
You guys
was
have been
with
talking
Arch.
about doing the Arch Labs D, and I didn't do that. I went to the regular Arch Labs. It has OpenBots, it has SFCE or i3. I can choose all three, and it does everything I want.
Yep. That's what I chose as well. But you do know that Eric used to be with Arch Labs, and then I think they had a disagreement and kicked him out, or he left.
I didn't. I actually didn't know that. Or did I?
Yeah.
He must have mentioned that on Destination Linux, did he, or not? I don't know. I didn't know. I remember that.
Yeah, no, he was over at Arch Labs because the Arch Labs guys always used to be a very minimalist. And then all of a sudden, Eric appeared on the scene. And before you knew it, the Arch Labs ISO was about 1.9 gig. And I think the original people didn't want that, so they went back to what they call their minimal or minimo or something. And Eric then split off and did Arco.
And I made the mistake of trying to install that minimal version after Eric left, and I just couldn't figure out the installer. It just would not work no matter what I did.
Right.
Yeah, it does make it difficult for sure.
Well, I like what Eric does with these minimal window managers like OpenBox and i3. He doesn't make them so minimal. I mean, he makes them, they're fully configured. He has a ton of software installed on these things by default. Anybody that wants a real bare bones OpenBox or i3, they should just go ahead and install mainline Arch anyway.
Right.
He's providing, something different.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just can't seem to want or desire to run an Arch-based system when everything that I need runs and works on Ubuntu.
Yeah, back in the day, that used to be the hot stuff, and now it's just...
Well, I think the big game changer is...
trouble dealing with software that's more than
hot stuff.
Reaper.
Well, that's why I'm running this version, because it's giving me enough software, and I've been able to add what I want. And I use OpenBots on this anyway, so I don't need the Cinnamon desktop or anything like that. Everything just works, and it works well. I have it installed on my main computer on this laptop, and I have it on another laptop, but that'll become my experimental laptop for future distros.
Everything works except your printer.
Except for the printer and the Borderlands 2, yeah, but I'll work that out. It'll help.
I'm just teasing you.
Well, I've given up getting printers working with Linux. I mean, I know I shouldn't, but I just fire up the Windows laptop, plug in the USB lead, print what I want, and then go back to Linux.
Well, what's funny is I can print with the USB in like Chrome, not in Chrome, but I can do it in Firefox or Opera or Vivaldi. But I just can't do it wirelessly, and that just sort of bothers me because I can do it in Linux Mint, I can do it in Ubuntu, I could do it in not Manjaro, but I got the other one I played around with. But there was another distro I could do it, but this one, it's something to do with Arch, and I don't know what it is.
Well,
Probably.
as somebody that has run a lot of rolling releases, don't complain too much about the little things like your printer and stuff. Do you have a working
and the kernel?
Yeah,
and
if the X server's working, you're good. So
That's right.
Yes, but that's the thing. It's like, is Arch worth it? Is it or worth the benefit? I mean, are there that many benefits to running Arch over Ubuntu when you have issues like Frank's talking about with his printer?
well, you know, some people are masochists. I mean,
this is
Yeah,
true.
it is. And this is what I've been wondering. What is the benefit of running Arch over something like Ubuntu or Fedora or anything else?
It gives you a greater appreciation of those systems when it ultimately fails.
And less hair.
And less hair.
It's purely your own choice.
I left stuff like that back when I gave up on Slackware in the 90s.
You always have the latest software is pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Well,
And if
you
you're
got
wanting to
snaps.
build a system completely tailored to your needs, that's.
But if I run this,
flat packs these days, snaps and flat packs have given you a lot more options, just like Archbase
Minecraft.
does, because Arch has always had the AUR, which has always had the edge over a lot of distros because you had so many things that you could install.
And the main problem with flat packs and snaps, lose your hard disk. Install Discord and use up 1.9 gig of data.
Yeah,
Really?
you know what I've ended up doing?
What is the point?
I've ended up creating a 4 terabyte RAID array so I can put all of my stuff
Flat
on.
packs.
3 snaps.
Yeah,
Actually,
that
no,
is
it's
an
only
issue,
4.
I must say, is the space that it uses. I have to say, it is a bit of an issue, but...
A bit? You got some poor so-and-so who's got a 32 gig hard disk.
environment with them.
The reason I say it is a bit of an issue is because I can't see people installing a whole heap of snaps and flat packs. It's only the stuff you can't get that you'll be installing. So that's probably a bit of a trade-off, so to speak. So, I mean, if it's only 1 or 2, then I don't see it being an issue. But if you do a minimal install and you want to use all flat packs and snaps, then you might be running into a few issues, right? So,
Yeah, you better have a huge hard disk.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, also Flatpak has a runtime environment, so you can. There are people. A lot of people are saying that there's no library sharing or runtime sharing or things like that. But there are. You can share certain parts of the system to accomplish. Not having a duplicate of literally everything. Same thing applies to app images and snaps. They all do them differently. There's more included in Flatpaks than the other two, but there is still some libraries that are shared. However, I would be okay with sharing libraries if I get applications to come to my platform because they don't have to worry about having 50 different programs to install the exact same thing on and maintain 50 different applications for 500 different distros. Yes, do it. I'm okay with it.
And one thing in Arch's advantage here, snaps and flat packs. Arch can do those, but you don't need them because I've never found like something that I could install as a snap or a flat pack that wasn't already packaged in the AUR.
That's
so
right.
Things like Zoom and Discord, they're already in the AUR.
That's exactly right.
So what is your opinion on Electron apps? Like, are you a no-go for Electron apps as well? Like, you don't want multiple things to have to install from? Or what?
No, I think Electron apps work, and they certainly don't seem to use up huge amounts of space. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Etcher start as an Electron app?
Yeah,
It still is, isn't it?
It still is.
Yeah.
Still is.
And they just take a while to start, I find, Electron apps, but
They take a minimum of 100 megs of space.
Yeah, but I think that's specific to whatever apps you're using, Colin. Because I find that some of them don't take that long to start.
Okay. Are they all app images,
Discord
Electron apps?
Is a type of Electron app on Linux. So,
which one? Sorry.
You guys give all these good reasons of what you want to run and how you want to run it. The simple fact of it is, when I was running Linux Mint 19 on this laptop, it was taking up about 30% of my resources. Ever since I put Arco into it, I would say it's running 15 to 20% of my resources before.
Yeah, that's a big difference, though, because you were running Cinnamon, right?
Yeah, I was running Cinnamon. That was a problem.
There's a big difference between Cinnamon and something like OpenBox.
Yeah.
Or
But
if-
the question to that is, you know, you said you were using 30% of your resources, but I mean, if you have the resources there and you're using 30% of them, did it affect anything that you were doing, Frank?
I've been actually noticing when I go in like Libre Writer from here, it's much faster now than it was in Linux Mint. You know, maybe, I don't know, half a second. It's longer to boot up in Linux Mint than it did this. So I don't know. You know, it's like Michael said earlier on his show. You're running Linux. If you're happy with it, fine. If you're not happy with it, find something else to run.
Yep.
I think Linux Mint has a heavier foundation, a core of software than Arco does to make sure that everything just works.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless you
but
change
Derek
something,
is right
it
though.
doesn't
Cinnamon is a little bit heavier. A little bit.
Yeah.
Tiny bit.
Just a little.
Can we just check Chicken's okay? Because I've not heard anything from him in a while.
He looks mad.
I'm more or less looking into the whole snap thing because I've actually been. I know people don't expect it from me, but I've been using snaps.
He's actually looking into dialing 911 for his mouth.
Oh no, they're already on their way. There's
And for those of you who weren't here before, he ate the hottest snack or the second hottest snack you can get.
This
Show
is
me the video
the
again.
Carolina Reaper pepper on beef jerky.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, it actually tastes really, really good. It's like super hot, but I actually survived. I would eat it again. I will finish this bag. I swear. It'll take me 3 years, but I will.
I didn't know we were doing another Vegemite. kind
We
of
didn't
challenge that
either.
well.
Well, I
We
had
didn't either.
I had to show you guys up, so beat that.
So
Don't
there.
actually go and
So
get
Russ,
something like
didn't you?
motor oil, though.
Pepper
Yeah,
X challenge accepted.
Imagine being a pepper and your defense is actually what people like about you, and they you know, eat you anyway. You know, actually specifically because of that defense that you have, you know, cultivated over who knows how
Because
long.
it's so painful to eat, and yet, yeah, you still do it.
No, I don't.
No, yeah, you don't have to do that.
Carl Schneider
but yeah,
in the
no,
house.
looking into the snap,
Carl.
Carl's the
And
man.
there's some pros and cons. Like, if you don't mind the size of them, because I will admit, like, they get a little hefty. But
What,
that's
Reaper
kind of
jerky?
No, desktop environments.
Oh,
Oh no, the snaps. That's kind of like a side effect of everything being kind of packaged in with it. But one of the good things about it is it does kind of eliminate cross-contamination as well as like not.
you just went quiet, chicken.
Yeah.
Well,
There was
it's
like a
not.
pop in your audio and it went lower.
It sounded like there was some kind of pulse.
That was the Reaper.
Almost.
Yeah, the pepper got into the microphone and burned it.
Yeah,
Probably-
it's gone
It
through
was
the
his
headphones.
voice. His voice is gone.
Probably has
His
the audio.
ears have been steaming that much that it's wrecked the mic. Now you've gone.
Now,
R.I.P.
almost sounds like it would be like a loose wire or something. Like that.
Is that even better?
You sure you haven't got Ryan's cat there chewing through
That's
your cables?
exactly what I was thinking.
No, as a matter of fact, Ryan lost power today because of storm, so that's why he's not here.
It's sure it's not his challenge. Wasn't he the Arco challenge guy?
I don't know. Was it? Who did bring
No,
up
he
Arco?
wasn't. He was
I don't think he
the,
was.
It was.
How's that?
Who was the
wasn't
Arco
chicken.
challenge?
It was chicken. Yeah, you're right.
No. It was.
Yeah, it was
Ryan. We'll have to blame him again because he's not
Oh,
there.
yes.
All right,
I
he's
was-
not
He was
here.
to defend himself.
Yeah,
That's good. That's the way we like it.
Can you guys hear me now?
We can.
Good.
Okay, sweet. So what I was saying is, some of the downsides like could be the size of snaps. I will say it on my disk. It's about 2 gigabytes for the Spotify snap, the Minecraft snap, the GIMP snap, the Blender snap, the FFmpeg snap, the OBS snap, the Shotcut snap, and the calculator snap, as well as I think it's a calendar of some sort. So that's a significant amount of programs, a couple of which are fairly large, particularly Blender, which is...
Blender's huge by itself.
Yeah, so considering that only takes about 2 gigabytes, things have improved a lot.
Now,
That's
is that
good.
2 gigs total or 2 gigs each?
2 gigs total. And
Cool. Now
although
go
I see what you did there. But I think one of the reasons that I would justify that, and I think one of the reasons that it is justified, is that it reduces a few problematic problems. I guess problems, but
Problematic problems for sure.
problematic problems in terms of just packages on Linux in general. When you have things that are dependent on each other, and maybe they're dependent on particular versions of another package, and you've got multiple things on one system, you're going to run into problems. Like me, I play Minecraft. That's not a surprise, but
that is a problem. You're right.
Minecraft runs on Java, right?
That's problematic.
And a lot of times, you'll get a system and it's got Java installed. Typically, something to do with LibreOffice. It has some kind of headless Java backend of some sort. Not sure what that is, but it's got it. Now, one of the things that having an application that relies on Java in a snap is it packages its own Java runtime, and that makes sure that when you run it on the system, it's not going to completely crap itself because the system's got one that isn't compatible with it.
And the system doesn't have to have Java.
Exactly,
Right.
and that also makes it good because
Which is good because you don't have to have
Java
Java.
in general is really a pain. Like I love Java, but I kind of hate it too.
Right?
It's
You love Java because it has Minecraft.
yeah.
That's it. That's the only reason.
So you installed all those, Chicken. How many is that? You're saying it used 2 gig.
Yes, about 2 gigs of storage space total.
And that was how many? Was about 5 or 6 of them, or
Actually,
something like that.
Blender
It's like a dozen.
9 or
yeah,
10.
it's quite a few, so it's improved a lot.
So where does why does Zeb get so much like a 2
Because I did
gigs
flat packs.
Oh, you did flat packs. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I did
packs
one
are-
flat pack, which is a 54 meg deb file. And yes, I know it'll install a few more stuff as it comes down, but 54
They're
meg, or let's say
quite a bit
500 meg against 1.9 gig is just ridiculous.
That's
Yeah,
How can
Discord
they
itself
justify
was huge. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the other one I forgot. Telegram and Discord, they are also snaps.
Yeah, but Discord
Nice.
is the one that took up multiple gigabytes for me. Now
That's
this was
I have
a few.
my Discord is a snap.
Yeah, it was a few versions ago, but I think it was holding like 3 gigabytes of space for Discord.
That's rough.
Because of holding multiple versions of it.
The versions, that's right.
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably some way in the future to where they can kind of see patterns in how disk space is used for particular apps. And
They have a system. They have a transactional system. The problem
Well, no,
is
but
it
I mean, like,
requires
because
an
of
app to do it.
Discord is a particular package that would have this problem and not being able to benefit from that, they might be able to kind of tune those things accordingly just to kind of compensate.
That is definitely a possibility. Like, it's mainly because Discord is like a binary build thing.
Yeah, it's not great. Isn't it all compiled against like 1404 as well, or something like that?
I don't know if it's 1404. I think it's 1604. But
okay.
I
think that
forgot
it
if they updated it or not.
Discord.
I think the themes are looking better on snaps too, don't you think? From what I seen last time, the themes seem to integrate a bit better.
I've seen some improvement, but I don't really.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They've been working on improvements, yeah.
Okay, because I don't know
The
where
mouse still looks terrible.
It's still a
Yes.
miss.
The mouse
one?
still looks like 1995. The mouse. It looks like an old Windows 3.1 mouse.
Yeah. Some problems though.
Instead
I
of the button, it's like this weird finger point thing.
Yeah, and I don't know why it kind of points sideways as well. It's a little weird.
The weird one.
It's strange.
I don't know. I've never really noticed that, to be honest.
Tilting.
As long as I can click something, I'm happy.
Yeah, it works perfectly fine. It just looks weird, but it works fine.
Yeah. I feel like the more complex the snap, the more problems you're probably going to find in terms of, folder access or service access in some.
That's very true.
Form.
Question: Do installed snaps automatically update themselves, or is there?
Yes.
Yeah.
They do. Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, you don't have to run a command to
I
update
thought
it,
you had
or-
to do the snap refresh.
Nope, they
You
automatically
can
update
do that
themselves.
if you want
Oh,
to.
is that right?
They-
Oh,
they-
okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
You can force an update if you want to, but they have an automatic updating mechanism.
Like if you're testing the newest Minecraft snap and you need to, and you need to get that.
Right. But it's an onload update. So whenever the application is executed, it checks.
Right,
in
it
the
checks
background
for a
to
new
see-
version.
Right.
So do they all hold different versions, like Rocco was talking about with Discord? I think it was it Discord?
There's a snapshotting system, so it's like 3 versions basically. So you have one version as a backup, that's immediate backup when you install updates, and a version
Right.
before that.
I feel like there's a BTRFS joke in here somewhere.
Yeah. It's like a backup to a backup.
Nah.
Well, I mean, most of the time that's a good idea because it allows you to go back if there is a problem.
Really? Go back 2 different versions?
It allows you to
3 different versions?
No, there's only 3 total versions. One backup that's what's your immediate one you're using.
Uh-huh.
Then you update to the new one. That's 2, and you have one that's a backup of the one that you have immediate version. So there's just a backup of your current version, and then if you go to the next one and it breaks, you can actually see the difference between the one that was working currently, the one that's new, messed up, and if there's anything different in the old one.
It's like a sandwich of present, past, and future.
Exactly. So it's a fantastic way of saying it.
A sandwich of working, broken, and screwed.
There you go.
But it's actually good. It depends on the snap if they use it right or not.
Yeah,
because if like Discord is gigantic, so
yeah, there's definitely some pros and cons. Like I've managed to work my way around a lot of things. Like with OBS, I would like output video files that are recorded to a separate hard drive, or rather a separate volume on multiple hard drives. The thing is like the OBS snap just will not access externally mounted media, like or internally mounted, but on a separate mount point. So you have to like mount things into your home folder and then point it there, which isn't ideal. But the fact that it's not a roadblock necessarily is definitely a good sign. Then that like it's not completely stopping it from functioning. There's hope.
Yeah, I mean, snaps and flat packs and averages are definitely a good thing, and they're going to bring positive change to the desktop environments and like the experience. I mean,
and as old as they are, they're still relatively new.
Yes.
So
I mean, they're only like 4 years old.
Do we need them to be? Do we need to pick one, or can they continue on for us as they are?
People are allowed to be wrong, Rocco.
I think one should work for everything, and for everything open source or free software, Libre, and another one should work for everything proprietary.
No, I mean, no.
And then why do we need a third one? Because the companies want to have their own implementation, or their own implementation of the idea.
There's
and
no
of course,
that would never work. That would never work. If any of the formats chose to be only proprietary, they would get instant hate.
That's true.
No.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just looking at like the tweet from Ubuntu alone on when they when the PowerShell snap was done, how people were.
Yeah. How dare you deal with
but you could just not install it.
Yeah. Who cares? It's actually like when I was saying that I didn't really care. I was like, this is interesting news. I don't care, but it's cool that they did it because it provides some kind of benefit, something, I guess.
PowerShell is definitely a pretty capable shell. Like it's very
in terms of all the other shells on Windows. Yes.
Well, yeah, but
in terms of every other shell in existence, not really.
I can see why people want it, though. I don't particularly need it myself, but especially if it's something you're familiar with, or say things you have are already kind of built in that way.
I think it might be like a power user or a sysadmin from Windows side who wants to use Linux, but they can't because they need to use PowerShell for administrating things. That would allow them to use PowerShell to administer while also not running Windows.
It's kind of like what we did with WSL.
I think it's because just Microsoft loves Linux. That's what I think.
It must.
Of course it does.
I mean, they don't love Linux. They heart Linux.
Yes, they heart Linux.
They heart Linux. That's true.
They heart Linux. Yeah, they do.
A Linux person, a good say Microsoft loves Linux.
Carl Snyder in the house. Carl.
Hey, Carl. How are you, Carl?
Hey, everybody. Hey.
Carl, did you try Arco?
Yes, I did. And it lasted I got about a day and a half, maybe. I was over it.
Oh man, so it didn't go well or what?
I like Arch, but the Plasma version of Arco Linux B was it was like 2.6 gigs of software. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
And there was stuff like I had a couple of crashes. I never have crashes on Plasma. and I had a couple crashes. I had some.
Wait, are you
really
feeling
bad
okay?
stuttering. What's that?
You never have crashes on Plasma? Are you feeling okay?
No, never.
Hey, Rocco. What he's saying is Plasma's the best.
All right, it's not Gnome.
I just what if those in the future those smart cars, I mean not those cars that drive themselves, those self-driving cars, you say I like this one car but it crashes every now and then. Yeah, nobody's driving that car, nobody's getting in that car very much at all unless
Because
they
it's not
don't
running on
care.
Plasma.
Exactly. It would
See, if it was running on
totally
Plasma,
fine if it was running Plasma.
The other
Right.
cars.
Plasma was crashing. Plasma was crashing.
Nah, Plasma doesn't crash. I know what you're talking about.
Steen, do you have your audio working?
User error.
If Plasma crashes.
Well, it's just like my printer problem. I'm sure it's me somewhere not finding.
No, because there's a
No,
lot of
it's
issues with certain types of printers. Are the bane of existence in computing.
Unless
They should not be so difficult. They are the most simple concept ever. It is
Preach it, brother.
machine
And they
that
have
puts
always
ink
had
on
problems.
paper, and
Always.
no matter what platform you are, whatever operating system you have, it doesn't matter.
They are
are
always in their
garbage.
terrible twos.
All
And they have
printers
been
are
for 30
garbage.
years. So
HP printers have HP has been actually pretty good about getting drivers.
HP.
Yes,
Yeah.
they've been doing it for they actually committed to Linux support for 15 years ago.
yeah, something like
Pretty
that.
much everything in that period is so fully supported. So you just install it and it's built into the kernel.
Yep.
With and the support with cups and stuff like that. It's fantastic. Anything else?
Yep.
You
Agreed.
You know what's great about cups, Michael?
I find that the business and commercial versions of Brother printers are the best. But that's just my opinion.
It's empty.
So you still can run into trouble because I had one guy brought his computer into me because he had Linux Mint on there, and he couldn't connect his printer, and it was I think it was a HP as well, or it could have been a Canon, but there was some version change, and it was just a dependency, and I just had to find that dependency which I downloaded. Once I installed that, I think it was a .deb file I found for that dependency, and it worked.
Yeah,
So it happens, yeah. So
Michael's right though. I mean, I have a Let's Smart laser printer I bought back in the '90s for a whole whopping $50 out of Office Mats. And when Windows went to version Vista, suddenly it wouldn't work because Let's Smart wouldn't support the drivers.
Okay.
Yep. They wouldn't update it.
Nothing worked with Vista.
Not that I would know.
No, Vista was great after 2 years of it being fixed.
It wasn't as
No,
good.
it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Vista
Not
was
even
great
after
when
2
they
years.
put it into Windows
Vista was
10.
never good.
It was never good. Start
No,
to finish.
Vista SP2 was actually decent.
Yeah, that's what I got agreed on.
That's
No.
called Windows 7, right?
Yeah, thank you.
No,
Really good at
no. Technically, SP4 would be 7. It was SP2, SP1, 2, and 3, and 2 and 3 were actually good. But that was basically 2 years before 7 came out. So, yes.
What I find really funny about Windows is it doesn't matter really which one you run up to XP. Underneath, it's mostly the same exact system with just more stuff on top of it, and
That's the same.
DOS.
That's the same for all of Windows. Yeah, from 95 up to XP, all the same. XP.
When was the
basically
year they
is
switched
its
from into NT? Wasn't it
With XP.
it was
XP.
XP.
Okay, all right.
Because
I was
XP
Vista was good if
the
you just turned off all the eye candy.
XP was the business version.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's crazy.
And
what's really funny is when I was in the Air Force and I became a client-side administrator, I went to class and here's all our computers running SP, and the class was based on Windows NT or Windows 2000. And I was going, well, why are you teaching me the old software to fit our modern systems? And they said, because we have to by license. And I'm going, huh?
Oh,
yep. They have an agreement
that's
contract.
painful.
You know the best thing about it? It also applies to if you go to college for any kind of computing thing or computer science or anything that involves internet or Linux administration or anything like that. You go to it, and let's say, for example, they have Red Hat as the course material, and you go to use it, and it's Red Hat from 2006. It's I know Red Hat doesn't update that much, but it has updated quite a few times since then.
Wait, Michael, I'm confused. I don't see Yum anywhere. Is something wrong?
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, Yum didn't exist at the time, so you just have to get used to it. And now that you finally get an update to Yum, DNF is replacing Yum.
Yep, so, pretty much.
At my college, there's a Linux class that learns how to use Fedora 16.
Oh,
nice.
That's awesome. Both good and bad.
Comes with a book and a DVD.
I was looking for hardware in my basement a couple days ago, and I came across a Red Hat version 6 install book.
Wow.
I'm going to have to get out my big binder of discs that I had, because I know I got some old discs.
That's going down memory lane.
Yeah, I gotta see what I have.
I actually wish I kept all the discs I made of all these different versions. I did not. I didn't keep a single one.
I used to have Windows 98 SE disk with the product key code on the sleeve or whatever, but
yeah,
that's a good point. I still have an XP.
Download them.
Right, that's good.
You just keep them in these. You just keep your old discs. When you finish all your discs, then you put your old discs in one of these, and they fit.
If
nicely.
I had my trash can accessible to pick it up and show you, that is where I
back in the day when Windows discs were actually like installable on a whole bunch of different machines, and now the recovery discs are just like, oh yeah, by the way, this hardware is not
one computer. If you touch anything else, you break it.
I'm like,
hey guys, there's a little thing called USB keys. You can chuck those discs away.
I don't even have a DVD player or CD player in the computer anymore.
Exactly.
You know what? I don't either, Rocco, because I got your IC dock that you and Michael and everybody.
Did you?
I had to get rid of my DVD player.
Did I.
Use my affiliate code.
To be honest with you, Derek,
I have a motherboard, I have the processor, and I'm waiting to get my memory and be able to afford a good GPU, and I'm going to build a with IC dock in it, and then
I've got an IC dock.
Yeah.
I'm just too lazy to fit it.
Yep.
Derek, that's exactly what I had to do.
TuxDigital.com/Amazon.
I had to remove the DVD drive because it was just taking up space, and I needed it for the
I
IC
did
dock.
buy my IC dock through your Amazon associate, so
You did?
I had a drive bay, but I needed one of the SATA ports. So
It took me 3 weeks to install the power supply. Wow, what a pain in the neck that was. I had to take the back off, and it was all running around the back, and then I had to take the graphics card out and another card out because one of the leads was never going to do that again.
Get a bigger case.
Now I know why. Oh, it's a huge case.
I have 3 computers in my main computer area, and it's got one's Windows, one's Arco Linux, one's
big enough. Surely.
Windows, another Windows machine, and they're all hooked up through a KVM switch. So,
yeah, I got to do that. I have a computer sitting out there that I want to put in here, but I got to get a switch for it so I can hook both of them up at the same time, and then I can maybe do a distro hop machine right next door. So
I'm currently in the process of getting a new power supply, but I really don't know what I need to go for here.
I bought the 6-bay IC dock, so I got 6 drive bays I need to fill up. The question is, am I going to boot OSs on all those drives or use some for storage?
Use 2.
I went OTT chicken and got an 850
OSs.
Yeah. I have 4 drive. There's the drive bay for the 6-bay, and there's a 4-bay. The 4-bay has power buttons. 6-bay does not have power buttons.
Yeah,
so,
I bought the one with power buttons as well. I got 4 of them. Got a couple of SanDisks and a couple of Kingstons to go in there.
I'll just pop the drives out that I want to power off anyway.
Yeah, but
I mean,
Michael,
that's the archway for sure.
Yeah, keep it simple.
And the difference is, all my computers that I have hooked up to the KVM switch, the primary hard drives are 2 terabytes, and then I have a 2 terabyte storage drive on each.
Nice.
Derek, just make sure that you don't try to log into like your Linux and pull the drive out right away, because then you can use any password.
Hey, you guys that have IC docks, have you noticed the fan on the IC dock? It's a little loud. I mean, it's not crazy loud.
Yeah,
it's got a volume. It's got a control, isn't it, to make it faster or slower, or not on your one?
I think the 6-bay has a controller.
The 6-bay one does.
The 6-bay does.
Yeah, it's like regular or soft.
Oh no,
There's
no,
a little-
there's an actual speed control on the 4 version where you can dial it up and down.
Oh
Well-
no, on the 6 one, it's just a switch, either or.
There
Yeah.
you go. There's a speed dial thing, up or
Yeah.
down on the bottom of the IC dock.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
if-
one of
if
the.
you go
on
to-
the 6-bay, it's on the internal side.
Yeah.
Just so that
there's-
everybody knows.
the bay's on the like. There's also a jumper on the back of this one too. It's just they have a controller in the front, so if you have it already installed, you don't have to take it out to do it.
Right. If you guys want to, you can go to Michael's YouTube channel and see the hardware
Review.
Finish
you
the statement.
can't. No, you can't.
Finish it.
You can go see the hardware review.
You can see that hardware review. Someday.
February 2019.
Hey, and if any of you guys need to buy an IC dock, do like I did. Go to tuxdigital.com/tuxdigital.
Affiliated link, and let me have your
Actually, if you go to tuxdigital.com/flexidoc, that works fine.
Destination
Mine through your affiliate, I did pay an extra.
There you go.
You can
Michael,
I
Michael,
appreciate it.
where's your Destination Linux shirt? Like Jimmy Wolf's got.
So speaking of snaps,
Yeah.
I've still got that link you sent me for that Vega card, so when I get it, it will go through Tux Digital.
Awesome.
You could do like I did. Take the biggest case that probably lives, rebuild a computer. Don't put not only a DVD back in, but don't put room to put an IC dock in there anymore. You know why I did that? I've been talking about IC dock all this time, and I thought, you know what? Why do I want to put myself through the pains? I bought a laptop specifically for testing. Why
Put
should
an
I
IC
screw out
dock
my
in
mini
that?
desktop? So I figured I'd take the temptation away and just put the SSDs in there that I want. And
That's no fun, Joe. That's no fun.
Joe.
What?
Joe. IC dock.
Yeah.
I love people who tell me that I can replace my desktop with a laptop, and I find that's not true.
Yeah, no.
Quite agree.
Depends on how much you want to spend on a laptop.
Mhm.
Well, I
And
spent
also, if you
£1,000
don't
I don't know.
on the Lenovo.
I replaced my desktop with a laptop and was very glad I did. But then I have this behemoth.
I replaced my desktop with a laptop, and it was so big that I didn't move it and
It became
took the
a
battery out, and it became a desktop.
Yeah.
So then when it was time to upgrade, I just got a desktop.
I mean, this thing just
Thinking
moved
about
from like
hooking this
one room to
laptop
the
into
other.
my main.
I think it's been out of the house
with this, but haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, I got a.
Yeah, if you're buying a laptop with a dedicated graphics card, you might as well buy a desktop. So.
Yep. I mean, they're expensive. They're basically the same price, and also the hardware in the laptop is inferior automatically.
Yeah, and that's the problem I've got, Derek. I bought a Lenovo Y520, and it's got a 1050 4GB graphics card in it. And this thing is huge. It plays games well, but I can't stream from it. I fire up OBS, I fire up Steam, I get it all working, and it just will not stream sufficiently from the laptop.
Might be the CPU that's bottlenecking you. What kind of CPU?
i7.
Oh well, I don't know.
So the 7700 HQ, the mobile one. So it shouldn't do, but for some reason it just and it's not on wireless either. I plug it into the network, so I've no idea why. So it stays Windows for the moment.
Sometimes I think there's certain restrictions within laptops for doing things. To be honest, I think desktops are probably the better way to go for those particular reasons.
Yeah, but
I think laptops are good if you want to do like portability and travel, and you don't need like high power. If you're using it for just basic daily use, it's perfectly fine. If you need any kind of power, there's really no reason to do it, because you're going to spend, you're going to spend like $500 more to get that power, where you could spend the exact same amount of money and get a better desktop.
Yeah, that's right.
This Lenovo ThinkPad I got right here. I got a docking station on it. I use it as my main computer. Then if I need to take it to college, I just hit the button. It pops off, and I can use it as a laptop.
Yeah, the problems with laptops are, when things break. Like if my keyboard breaks right here, I can go to Best Buy tomorrow and spend $10 and get a keyboard. But if the keyboard on my laptop, has issues, or
that's a good point
play on the
too.
laptop or whatever.
Yeah, but there's other reasons for having laptops too. I don't use it anymore. I've got a gaming laptop sitting in there. It's a Alienware 14-inch, but I used to carry that in my truck when I was contracting, and I got that purposely because I used to have to bring up the house plans sometimes. I used to have to look at 3D renderings or whatever. So I needed something to be able to handle that. So they're not just about gaming. There are situations where you do need to have the horsepower on the go sometimes, depending on what your lifestyle is or what your industry is.
And
You know,
I'm
and
sorry,
that's what I
that
primarily
does not work in the semi that I drive.
I volunteer at a community television station, and we recently went through Adobe After Effects class, and it was all on a laptop, and we were constantly having people crash on those laptops.
Well, yeah. Again, you got to have the right system set up for those, and unless you. That's why the MacBook Pros, everybody said, there's a lot of complaints about, but the reality of this is that's what they're built for. And if you get a higher end regular PC laptop.
And these were all MacBook Pros on top of them. We're not PCs.
MacBooks are inferior automatically. They're automatically inferior because the hardware in them is just not good in comparison to a.
Well, the architecture's old.
And they overheat.
Yeah, they're automatically old because they care more about the presentation than they do about the hardware. And that's why like a huge chunk of the professional video editors and stuff like that switched away from Mac. They preferred Mac, but then Apple decided to just butcher the hardware and also butcher the software Final Cut, so people stopped using Final Cut, and then they had no reason to have a Mac.
Well, their architecture is older, but part of the problem too is I bet you most of those laptops sitting in there didn't have the memory upgrades either, because my son does a lot. He's a big producer, and the first thing he did was bring it over. We took out the memory that was in there, and we upgraded, which now you can't do anymore. It's all soldered on. But we maxed out the memory in both that and his iMac, and he never had a problem with him crashing like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you take the terrible product and fix that product.
You were both talking. I couldn't hear what you said.
I was just trolling. It doesn't matter.
What did you say, Frank? What did you say, Frank?
What did Frank say? What did you say, Frank?
Apple is going to get rid of their Intel architecture and all their computers, and they're going to have their own chips again, and it's going to be a disaster. And
Are they going to do their own chips, or are they going with ARM chips?
They're developing their own ARM chips, is what I heard. And the community television station I have, they're using Mac or their Final Cut Pro, and they've already hit problems. We were supposed to be open this week, and now they're saying, no, we're going to open up August 2nd for the refurb because they already ran into problems.
So, Carl, you're the artist in the house. Which do you prefer, Mac or PC?
I haven't used Apple since, I don't know, late 90s probably. I've never liked Apple. As a company, I don't like Apple.
So I found out they were charging you $1,500 more than for their computers than what they were making them for.
Right.
Carl, you mainly use GIMP, don't you? Mainly, or
Inkscape?
Inkscape, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, for vectors.
Yeah. Okay.
You only use free and open source software, Carl?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. That's cool.
Nice.
Yep. All AMD, no NVIDIA.
I bought this Intel NUC. This Intel NUC cost me a lot of money. It's a desktop and it's compact. But now I'm finding the problem is I need more storage, and it's an M.2, which costs a fortune for that as well. So I don't have the ability to add hard drives inside a case because I don't have a case. So although it's very powerful, you got to use external. You got to keep unplugging hard. I use internal hard drives externally, but that's just a pain changing them over and all that. So sometimes you got to really forward think about what you buy because now I'm sort of missing.
I built a computer in a milk crate.
It's very accessible.
Yeah, and cooling,
lots of airflow.
Not a problem.
I bought a case specifically because it was big and it had the compartment in the back of it so that you could put all the wires in the back and then hide it. But it made the management super easy. And when I found that type of case existed, I was super happy. It's like I don't have to deal with cable management. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned that because when I had to open my case to do that IC dock, I realized I did a horrible job with cable management. It was just a mess. And, I opened the side of the case and I just wanted to put it back on. And
Felt that before, for sure.
Cable management, what's that?
Yeah. Well, it's this
I
thing,
actually
Zeb,
super
that-
cable manage actually
Science
outside of the
fiction.
case.
It's science fiction, Zeb.
All right, okay, cool. Because I got all mine in, and this new power supply had like, I don't know, 15,000 of these connectors, and I only needed 6 of them. So they just sort of like got stuffed anywhere that wasn't near a fan. Because I've done it before and powered it all back up again, and I'm thinking,
how's that for
what the
cable
hell was that
management?
noise?
That is very
And I
mad.
realised it was one of the power connectors doing this off the fan all night long. It's like, really? Okay.
Zeb, I helped a person put together their own computer last week, and I left him and I says, okay, now tie off the cables away from the fan. And he calls me up this week, and I go over there, and 2 of his main power connections were cut in half because he put it right next to the fan.
Wow.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Some of the
Actually-
new cases these days have nice spaces for cable management now. Anyway, the way they're designed is pretty good. So
Did you take that computer away from him, Frank? Because he obviously didn't deserve it.
Yeah, I went to Fry's and kind of convinced them to replace the power supply on their dime, and went back and I did the cable management.
Well, the one good thing about power management is when you get a power supply that has the cables that if you don't need them, you can pull out.
Mhm.
Yes, modular.
The modular.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
I run in mine.
Modular is nice.
I use modulars on everything. It's well worth the extra money.
Yes, very much so.
Called the XFCE Power Pack, Rocco.
Well, the other
Very
nice
modular.
thing, the example about modular too, that particular computer, right? Because I went to I took Michael's advice. So remember a while back we talked about the 760, and I had the 1050
Why would you take
Ti?
Michael's advice?
Well, no,
masochist. He's
I was
a
going to do it
masochist.
anyway. But the 1050 Ti that was in the other machine, I put it in here, so I didn't need the 650 watt power supply for the other machine. So I had to switch them around, right? And because they're both Corsair, because they're both the exact same power supplies, one was a 450, one was a 650. All I had to do was unplug them, switch them out, and then move the cable over that I needed for the 760, and that was it.
Yep.
It was so easy.
Nice.
Yep, definitely makes for some good power management or power cable management.
Yeah.
Shambles, you got any audio?
It does not appear as such.
That's a negative.
No, he was asking in Telegram about it, so hopefully he's going to fix it soon.
Pulse audio.
I bought a desk that
It
has
used the Zoom too. Zoom. If you don't have the Zoom settings right, that could be it too.
Make sure your
Yeah,
mic
that's
is muted. Yeah.
make sure
Bottom
Pulse
left
is
corner.
detecting the correct mic.
That's impossible.
Talking of Pulse, where is Simon?
I know he hasn't been
He's
back.
out
He's
building me
busy.
that brand new Lubuntu.
He's busy working on that Pulse audio thing, Zeb. That's why he's not here. He hasn't been back since that week.
He hasn't, has he?
No.
Well,
By the way, guys, when we're talking about cable management, the community television station I'm working at, they have a TriCaster, and it's a professional video system.
Mhm.
And they're revamping everything in the building and doing the IT audit. So they let me in while they were looking at the TriCaster, and for a turnkey system that they paid, $720,000 for, I found out that their cable management sucked. And I told them, hey, is it still under warranty? Yeah, well then call them and have them come over here and fix it before this thing blows up, because it's going to be more expensive when it does blow up.
Yep.
I was in a local venue that does like entertainment stuff, and there was a TriCaster and some custom DJ mixer boards and some other stuff, and the cable management in that place was just awful. It was absolutely terrible. It was so bad, literally ceiling tiles were falling above them. And there was one just hanging right above them. It's like, you could just stand up and just push it back to where it's supposed to be.
That is disgusting.
So, but I actually am. I don't care about cable management of my computer because it's in a case and I can cover that. But I do care about cable management on my desk, and I have a sit-stand desk, so it's even more annoying. So I have to be able to manage the cables while it's sitting position and standing position. So I created this like canopy underneath the desk, so all the cables just sit in this canopy, and then kind of just go off to the side back to the computer. It works out pretty well.
Yeah,
Doesn't look that good, but it works.
I used to have a rat nest behind my computers until I finally got sick of it, and then I rewired them all, got them working, and then I took a nice little label printer, and now I know what's what.
Well, it's still a rat's nest. It's just in a canopy.
Spaghetti behind me, which I guess Michael made a comment about once. My beautiful spaghetti. But I don't have much choice.
Touch of my
Yeah, okay, there is a choice. You could go to get a zip tie and just put them together and zip it, and you're done.
But does your
they're all labeled.
in that configuration?
Well, there's a rule about cable management. It doesn't have to be invisible to be managed. It just has to be managed. So it looks like there's some effort put into it. You could actually make it spell Barbara with wires, and that would be amazing.
Is there such thing as micromanaging cable?
Yeah, we'll get on Zoom, and then Barbara will go get some zip ties, and I'll say, okay, now twist it here, and then here.
Barbara, if you're happy with that back there and it works for you, I am happy for you.
Thank you. And every single one is labeled so I know where it goes and where it comes from. And that's
okay, it's good that it's labeled.
So you tell it where to go. Got it.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. When it catches on fire, just remember you had an opportunity.
I'd just create some kind of false wall that covers all the wires.
Yeah, that's what I really like. But
Yeah, you just push a button and a wall pops in front of it. It's like, what are you talking about? It's not there.
Now, it sounds like most of you guys have put your computers together. So do you have a preference between ATX motherboards and micro ATX?
ATX.
I have micro ATX, but I've done ATX too. To me, it's no difference. The only thing I don't like is mini ITS because sometimes those cause problems.
Yeah, I don't care really.
No, I'm either way. Yeah.
Well, I see. The thing is I bought the case first, and since it was such a big case, it would look silly putting in this tiny. So I went ATX.
I mean, ATX if you have a big case, there's no reason not to get ATX because they're better performance and they're cheaper to get and all this other stuff because there's no compact nonsense in them. So if you have a big case, then you might as well use ATX. And I did the exact same thing. I got a big case for the purpose of having wires in the back of it. So anyway, and then having ATX board just made sense. Although, to be point, ASRock is trash. Continue.
Liar. That's fair.
I hate ASRock. I hate them completely. I bought this super powered motherboard and it's garbage. And it had this huge flaw in it that thousands of people reported and they never admitted that it ever had it. If you send what is it? RMA. If you RMA the board, they'll go, okay, that'll cost you $50 to ship it to us. Then we'll tell you whether or not it totally worked or if it's actually broken. They didn't tell me it was broken. They didn't tell me what the problem was. They sent me a refurbished one, which was also garbage and completely destroyed everything. So it also ruined one of my SSDs because it just crapped out. So it had a problem where if it ever loses power, just abruptly, it will not work again.
Damn.
That's it.
Shucks.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it.
That would be first day at the place I'm at.
Yeah, so the power went off, and the computer wouldn't go. I was like, oh, wow, that's weird. Here's the problem. It's a flaw that it detects a certain power supply. So if you replace the power supply, it will work again. If the power goes off and you don't have another power supply that it hasn't already detected, it won't work again.
Why should it even care?
Yeah.
Don't know. Because it's garbage, because ASRock is trash. And
no, see,
Wow.
I've had the same exact problem with Gigabyte boards. See, the thing is, it's an overvolt feature. Basically, what it's doing is it's
no, it's a flaw with the motherboard. They even admitted it eventually after about a year and a half.
Multiple boards. It's not just
The entire line of that particular board, the entire line was garbage. There was actually a report. It was like a class action lawsuit of like 80% of them were garbage.
Well, this leads us to the next question.
So ASRock is trash. That's what I'm saying.
What you're saying is ASRock is the same as Apple. Okay, cool.
Trash rock.
Apple.
How about Asus
Trash Rock? I like
versus MSI?
Apple would have told you
if we're doing motherboard.
Trash Rock.
System. Michael's not opinionated or anything like that. So.
I'm not opinionated.
Oh no, I can tell. I can absolutely tell. He's not
I don't even know what you're talking about.
And,
I'm a very open person.
I understand. I mean, but the thing is that I've built enough systems.
Uh-oh.
See, that kid agrees with me in saying Trash Rock is trash, and we should rename it to Trash Rock.
I don't know about that, Mike. You know what? I'm not an ASRock fan. Most of my computers all have MSI. This one's the first gigabyte that I'm using here. The machine I'm on right now is an ASRock Mini. Okay, and ASRock's a cheaper board overall, cost-wise, stuff like that. But if you read the reviews on the majority of the boards, the majority of them, every one of them is going to have their haters and their problems and whatever else. They're electronics. It's
right, but it's replacing a broken one, making me pay for a replacement of a broken one, and then that replacement is also broken with the exact same problem. That is
we're talking about customer service.
I get it. Yeah, customer service.
The board is broken. The board is broken.
Build quality of an entire generation.
Bad batch run.
Yeah.
All right. Look. Hold on. Everybody, hold on. Hold on. Don't. Everybody, hold on for a second. Okay. Look. There's 16 people in here, and we can't all talk. It's not going to be a good experience for the people watching if we're all talking over each other. So everybody wants to get a point out, but we got to be respectful.
That's a good point, Rocco. You know when you talk over people. What'd you say, Michael?
Yeah, exactly.
You beat me to it. I was just looking for the link.
So everybody's more than welcome.
You can mute everybody.
Everybody's more than welcome to talk and have a good time, but it's not going to work if everybody's talking over each other. Nobody can hear nothing.
That's fair. So speaking of Trash Rock,
let's hear another opinion, sister.
You could just put another S in there.
Right. So, okay. So I've built machines for for a university. They do like data science and management. Right now, what we have found over probably about 7 iterations of platform changes for them is ASUS is usually the boards that we've had the least amount of problems with. But you don't go like the gaming series. You go like the business class ones, the ones that are classified as like tough or something of that nature. Those have had the most long-term effectiveness. I do have to agree, ASRock has had a very high failure rate, but I've had the same problem with Gigabyte boards, and I've had the same problem with EVGA boards, and I've had the same problem with MSI boards. It really depends on their product set. Now, ASUS, I've had failure rates too, but it's usually on the boards that are more RGB, gaming, and all that. So
I don't understand RGB.
Well, it's
like
just
at
3
all.
colors.
Yeah, but somebody.
It looks pretty.
Somebody had said it earlier about it depends on your experience with the hardware itself, and I don't remember who said it. Joe, did you say it? Yeah. Because I can go along and I can say that I've had EVGA and Asus boards and cards forever, and I will only buy an EVGA NVIDIA card because I have never had a problem with an EVGA card. Yet I know people, and I've talked to people, that will never buy an EVGA card because every one they've got was terrible. And it just comes down to your experience and which cards you've gotten, if they've worked, if they haven't worked, and then you formulate these opinions. So I don't think you can just say this company's trash or this company's not. It's all about your experience with what you've got from them.
Well, the customer service aspect, you can say some companies are trash. I've heard other than Michael, I've heard that Asus customer service is not good from a lot of people. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can definitely include. You can definitely
they could not charge me for their own defective garbage. They could send back something that worked. That's a good idea. They could then not make me have to pay basically for a board that finally works double the cost of the board. No, trash.
Don't you think some of this, though, is to do with the throwaway society? I mean, you were talking on your stream yesterday, Michael, about having a flip phone that's 15 years old that still works, and yet you can pick up a Nexus from 4 years ago and it's broken.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't make them to the same standard they used to. My last washing machine was like, I don't know, 18 years old. I've had this one 18 months. It's kaput. It's got to go back. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is sad that there's they've changed. They've put less effort into making stuff work. They make it work for long enough rather than just work.
Well, if you build it to last, then you don't get repeat customers. You lose money.
My mind went blank. What's the name for that? Oh, planned obsolescence. That's what it was.
Yeah, planned
I don't know why I
obsolescence.
thought about it as I asked.
Absolutely.
That's why I mentioned earlier about tearing apart a perfectly good machine. I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be 5 years old, and I'm starting to think, well, you could test another 5 years. Why did I do this? The cabinet, like you guys are talking about big cabinets, Michael. That cabinet is the biggest one. If you're familiar with the Fractal R series cabinets, the R4, R5, R6s, they're beautiful cabinets. They're silent. They work great, but they take up so much space. And I've got 2 of them sitting in there. So I thought, well, let me go to something smaller. And I am nervous. Because I hear a lot of people complain about MSI customer service. You see what I'm squeezing here while we're talking?
Right.
Anyway, so I'm hoping this one gives me a decent amount of service. Yeah, there you go. Because I'm thinking I've got an i7 4770K, but I had such an itch to try a Ryzen CPU. They came down in price, and I thought, why not give it? But time will tell whether I live to regret it. So I was going to sell the other board with the processor and everything. Now I'm starting to think, well, maybe I should just hang on to it to be safe. And again, the majority of the computers I've built, not only for myself, but that I've actually built for other people, all had MSI boards. And yet you talk to some of the so-called experts in the field, they'll sit there and say the same thing like you guys say. They'll say, one of them in particular, I won't mention his name, he's a YouTuber. He loves Asus. He thinks they're the greatest thing from them and actually Gigabyte boards. And yet he says MSI's got the worst customer service out there. Well, guess what? I wouldn't know because, knock on wood, I haven't had to call them for anything. They've worked fine. This is the first Gigabyte one that I've got, and this actually has an RGB light in the back, which I don't really care about, but it did have a glass panel on it.
Took you long enough, Michael.
Well, I have Asus boards too, Joe, and I've had them, and I have no problems with them. So it all comes back to experience because and you can say Asus is a terrible customer support or whatever, but I haven't even needed to use it.
Yeah, but they've got such cool logos.
Exactly.
I know, right?
The other thing is, though, it still comes down to rock.
Does anybody in this conversation ever call customer support and not know more than the person they're talking to?
That's never happened. I don't think that's a possibility.
You have to get through to third line support.
Exactly.
I think a lot of them it's the run of the electronics too, or the run. I think they do go in batches, and if you get a series of bad boards back to back, or a series of whatever you're buying, a lot of times it's how they're produced. If they something wrong and you figure they're banging them out, and you got how many went through the line before they caught the problem or heard back that there were problems.
It also matters how many of the same person you get. The one person has the exact same problem. So here's Nexus 5, Nexus 5, and Nexus 5. These are garbage, broken pieces of crap. This one.
So why'd you keep them?
Because out of principle, because
he keeps everything. Is that
right? Well,
except for his DVD.
Stack them up on a shelf behind him like the laptops.
Nexus 6, broken garbage.
Mine works.
Huawei phone, broken garbage.
Michael.
Samsung Galaxy
He's
S.
not listening, Zeb.
No.
Samsung for the win.
Oh, this is also broken garbage.
I think it's good to remember that as advanced as we get with.
Go ahead, Chicken.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think it's important to remember that as advanced as we get with different electronics and stuff, these are still physical pieces of hardware. We're still gonna run into manufacturing issues. We're working with things that have processing or like manufacturing nodes of like
Still works.
anywhere from like a few nanometers, 10, 12, 14 nanometers. We're not at the 10 yet, but we're dealing with complex circuitry. All of this is physically created, which means that they're affected by multiple variables, not just during the manufacturing process, but the materials they were sourced from, where they were manufactured, the climate, the shipping, everything. So no one is ever going to have the exact same experience in terms of hardware, even if they
Yeah.
exact same.
So Google is right. He's right.
So one input to this is we also have to look at the differences between product solution methods. So what I was telling you about was like with the ASUS stuff, for the ASUS boards, the commercial side or the consumer side that you go to the store and you buy that has all of the extra flash, most of those have a higher death rate because they're not designed for like a 5-year or 10-year life cycle. Whereas when you're buying, different hardware like the Tough series and even MSI and Gigabyte, they have a business class board. If you buy the business class board, it's designed, it's going to have better customer service. It's going to have a lot of extra features. Yes, it's kind of sad that you should have a more customer focused, ability, and there should be that kind of thing. But at the same time, there is not really businesses don't look at it that way. They look at who's spending more money, and that's who we should cater to, less of, that's why you can have a BlackBerry phone that still works and have a Nexus series phone that you have gone through 3 of them. Because commercial.
Well, no, actually, it's not that. It's yes, there are reasons why they're garbage. It doesn't change the fact that they're garbage. So the problem with this phone is that the power button right here is broken and stuck on the motherboard. So the button itself is perfectly fine, works, but the buttons that it connects to in the motherboard is stuck on in the motherboard. The exact same problem is messed with this. And there are 2 other phones that I did send back that had the exact same problem with the button. Now, if you look at this one...
Why did you keep buying it?
And you kept buying them.
No.
Over and over again.
No, because these...
He was trying to get Jen to install.
These are replacement devices. And actually, this one is not mine. Someone they replaced their Nexus 5 broken with an iPhone, and I just said, "Hey, can I have it?" And they said, "Sure." I was like, "Okay, I'll take it."
Michael's a phone bag man.
He is.
No, because I'm gonna fix them eventually.
One
day.
Someday,
One day,
I'm gonna fix them.
I have a Droid 3 or 4. I don't remember what series this is. It still functions. The battery is basically dead in it, and it's impossible to replace. But the phone works.
Hey, when you turn it on,
Same thing for this battery problem.
Droid.
No. So I have something called SlimROM on it. I've completely erased everything that was on it and just basically reloaded something.
That was my favorite thing about them.
That is the only thing I liked about them.
I got the Droid on my Samsung Galaxy right now.
So, have you guys? It may not even be a good question, but have you guys noticed any companies like board makers that are more apt to work better on Linux, like Asus or MSI?
ASRock.
Well, I'll tell you what. As long as you get a board with a half decent UEFI or rather BIOS, it won't matter so much. If you go for some of the more special ones that are typically a little more OEM, yeah, you're probably going to have some complications because they typically only have to target a small area of functionality, but most boards should be fine. Like, they shouldn't have any problems whatsoever because all they particularly have to do is find something to boot into and then tell all of the hardware what to do. Like, they don't really have to actually work with the OS so much as just kind of take instructions from the hardware and then vice versa.
But it also goes a wrong way with their hardware support to the point where they support pretty much anything out of the box, unlike 20 years ago.
Yeah, like it's probably a lot. Yeah, it's very oversimplified. Like, but it's very hard to get something that just isn't outright gonna work the way it should in terms of running an OS in general. Like, if the OS is capable of booting up on that platform, it should be fine.
Right, and some manufacturers, I mean, if you avoid ones that use like killer nicks and things of that nature, then sorry, my child in the background.
It's okay.
But if you avoid, like as I said, if you go more of a business class motherboard versus a like a mainstream motherboard, then you're gonna have less issues. You're going to have a greater compatibility because you're going to have your default Intel NICs. You're going to have your, just features.
Right.
Realtek is trash, but we'll leave that for another day.
But don't you find
always been
that
trash.
with the enterprise stuff?
See, Realtek. Okay, first we got to talk about the manufacturing problems that Realtek has, and we got to go into this, like the possibility of all the materials that they could get. There's be so many levels in the manufacturing issue that could cause the
Yes, but Realtek is used on everybody's board. That's the problem. They're used by MSI. They're used by Gigabyte. They're used by name one manufacturer that does not use some kind of Realtek feature. They are the reason that Intel has vulnerabilities right now.
Okay. Let's be fair about this. I'm just trolling you.
Michael,
trying to troll.
What were you going to say, Zeb?
I was going to say, don't you find though with the enterprise class boards, you don't get as cutting edge a product? They don't have all the latest features.
Well, it depends on the manufacturer. So if you're going something like Asus and you go a tough board, you can have actually all of the same features and actually more features, especially on the Intel side. Like if you're dealing with Intel, you might actually not have cut down features that you would expect on the consumer side. Like there was the whole issue with support for certain Intel CPUs where they only had a certain amount of PCI Express lanes. But if you went the commercial side of the boards, you had a larger amount of support for the CPUs, and you could have the PCI Express lanes supported better and dual NICs. And you can have a lot of extra features that you might not have on a commercial, on a consumer side of boards. And you can get them in smaller form factors or larger form factors. And they sometimes cost less money.
Well, that was my next question. Are they running comparable as far as pricing?
Well, I mean, if you get an
RGB lighting and all that frou stuff, so.
But you can spend. Here's the difference on that, though. Here's the question: if you buy a board that costs you $150 to $200, and you know it's going to last you 5 years, and say you go the AMD route, right, and you buy a Ryzen CPU that you know is going to upgrade for 3 or 4 years, or 3 or 4 generations, let's say, so more than 3 or 4 years. In that vein of things, if you buy a nice chipset on the commercial side and you expect it to upgrade, then you're going to get a better performance. You're going to get a larger amount of support time. You're going to, of course, Linux usually runs over an extended period of time better than in most cases. So if you're going commercial, then that's going to work better. So,
my question would be, if you're getting the board and expecting it to last, multiple generations of chips, how many chips actually keep the same form factor over multiple generations? The pin form factor doesn't.
So AMD has always followed that, where they stay the same architectural side. Ryzen is proof concept to that. They plan for 6 generations to support. I think 2022. 2022 is when they're going to change, if they do change.
And they've already put another set of chips on the same board. Like they're already 2 steps in. So.
Intel, on the other hand,
that's funny. Rocco.
Yeah.
Speaking of pricing, you got that Amazon link for me, buddy?
I do.
tuxdigital.com/Amazon.
No, that's the wrong one. That's not the right one.
That is always the right one.
That is totally not the right one.
It's like what he's talking about. The MSI boards I always make sure whether it's just marketing or whether there's something to it. Is I've always looked at the military class caps on it and stuff like that. They're supposed to be built better. Realistically, most of the boards out there in this world are going to be gaming, unless like he was saying, going to a business class, and that's where you're going into different type processors and Xeons and stuff like that. If you're doing, it depends on what you're using. Now, to answer your question about the generations, AMD, that was one of the complaints about AMD is, I mean, I've got the other computer that I use for business right now, and that's an FX 8370.
Ooh.
And that thing runs like a champ. It's beautiful. But that, again, now, even the 8370 was, 4 years old or so, before they came out with the Ryzens. And the Ryzens give them for their money because they basically, AMD was on its way out, period. It was in so much trouble that nobody knew if they're going to survive. And the reality of it is what happens when you get a market that's dominated by one company, and they needed to come back the way they did. And I'm glad they did.
AMD would never go away because Intel has to pay them for the 64-bit patents. So Intel, anytime they still produces a 64-bit CPU, they literally have to pay AMD because AMD engineered the x86 64 platform. So,
right, but they didn't have. That doesn't mean they'd stay in the consumer market.
Yeah, they
still would have had money. I mean, that was the worry that they were going to stay in the consumer
I feel
market.
like something that does validate AMD's ability to stay on one socket for an extended period of time is while the previous generation, before Ryzen, it was getting pretty bad. Now the technology that they're using is much better. So like when their AM3 sockets were around, their CPUs were still, I mean, honestly, just objectively garbage compared to what Ryzen is now. Like, they kind of bottlenecked everything in terms of multi-core. Everything was kind of like pushed through one stream. So 2 cores were essentially 1 core kind of bottlenecked together. Whereas now, not only are they capable of properly hyper-threading, they also have more...
The Threadripper.
They also have more independent core technologies, meaning that they're going to be able to take advantage of the same socket in a much better way for a longer period of time, because the CPUs themselves don't have to be fiddled with as much because they're in a bad state.
Well, Alan, I agree with you partially. I don't know that I would have called them garbage. I think what it was is they were just stuck in a time warp.
Well, compared to
what they had no money for R&D.
For what they were being used for and what they were built for, yes. And the reality is now with multi-lane threading and all this other stuff, they had to catch up with what was going on in today's world.
Absolutely.
And that was another reason why the decision I made on the 1600 versus the 1700K on here too is, number one, even though I got a 4770K and the other one, I never overclocked it from day one. So it was like, okay, do I really need to put a 95 watt, or do I want to save 30 watts and put 65 in there watt processor? You see, that's the other thing I'm trying, I guess is the important point, is when people pick hardware, they don't take the time to read. And even me, even though I built enough computers and this is what I do for a living and whatever else, and it's just, I still try to educate myself as much as possible because I'm still a consumer at the end of the day as well. And if you don't put the right hardware together, that also will stimulate problems too. And that's one of the things when you're reading reviews. Number one, you can't go by like Amazon or a lot of these places because they, it's a known fact. There's a lot of bot reviews on there too. But the thing is you can tell the more authentic reviews when you're looking at a lot of them because you can listen to what somebody's saying. Like you get somebody as an example, the reviews on this little ASRock Mini, even though you guys are talking about them being garbage, the reality is they've got really good reviews. The ones that are showing up, the couple that are showing up as quote unquote not so good, well, guys trying to put an overclocking processor in there, a K processor. When if you go on the website and you look at what the processors that it's calling for, it says nothing about a K processor. So what does that tell you? That review is garbage because he didn't know what he was looking at. So, in some breath, I agree with you partially. But I think it's because they needed to come. It's kind of like, I hate to say it, going back to Apple again. They're making tons of money off of older architecture, so it's catching up with the times. And the reality is now is it's like a neck and neck race between AMD and Intel. Intel right now is still always going to make the edge to some extent, but they're two different animals too.
Well, and okay, so if you're looking at an architectural base set, Okay, so the way that AMD has always approached the matter of computation, so all the way back to the Athlon and the Palomino core system, they were thinking about the way that the threaded processing architecture is going to layer within the process set for the kernel. And so when it does direct execution on the CPU is actually doing direct math, equations. So it's going to be able to manage its processor times in a different way than the way Intel does. So Intel, because of the Pentium 4 architecture and the way that they decided that they wanted to change from the Pentium 3 and that architecture design, they kind of go deep instead of wide when they actually do their equations to actually decide how the threads are going to be negotiated. When AMD transitioned from a single core to an actual dual physical core architecture on the AMD Athlon X2s, they actually engineered it so that each individual processor had its own stack for managing each kernel execution. When that was then brought into the Phenom architecture, which is what they also implemented into their server processors, they did the exact same thing. So each individual CPU had its own ability to do its own transactions independently. Whereas when Intel transitioned to the Core 2 technology, they were still having a holdover where each CPU had to interact with another CPU. When they re-engineered Bulldozer on AMD's side, they decided to do the exact same kind of transaction issues. Well, the problem is they built 4 cores, but to get the ability to have 4 threads, they had to build a blending mechanism basically on the CPUs so that each individual core had to depend on another core to actually have coefficient when it's actually executing your kernels. So if you set up...
Right, they're sharing.
Yeah, so basically they're sharing the thread set. Well, Intel's doing the exact same thing, but they call it hyperthreading. And they're only running 4 cores instead of AMD, which was running 8 physical cores, but they were actually only 4 modules. So they were 2 cores. Well, think about the way that Ryzen is set up now. Now we're running 8 modules, and each one of those 8 modules can be put on an actual fabric, and then that fabric can have interconnects. So now you have Threadripper and the functionality for that, and Epic. So you have the ability to manage. AMD has been able to build its architecture so that it can have basically chiplets versus a monolithic architecture. And that's the difference between the way. So, but the thing is that a monolithic architecture is always going to have a higher IPC, single core processing. So you're going to be able to get 5 gigahertz on a monolith, where with chiplets, you're going to be limited due to the limitations of the thermal envelope.
Or by living in Arizona where it's just too hot to do that.
Well, that's true. But if you look at the issues that MacBook is dealing with right now and how they're having the thermal limits and
so bad
with the 6-core processors, and they're having thermal throttles, the issue is that their CPUs are not actually being designed to actually sit at all cores at 4 gigahertz. Their CPUs are designed to hold maybe a 3 gigahertz envelope on more than 2 cores. And they can go 4 gigahertz on a single thread on a single core. But people automatically assume that it's going to be 4 gigahertz. When AMD says they can do 3.7 gigahertz, they're talking on 8 cores, 16 cores, 32 cores. They're talking about a full load thread in the envelope. So anyway,
so what you're saying is
I have spent the last 10 years studying in architecture technology. Sorry,
that was beautifully done, by the way.
So what you're saying is by connecting the fabrics, we can now rip the threads. That's what you're saying, right?
Actually, you know what? That's really punny, but that's true.
So unfortunately, System did actually say one thing that was incorrect. He called it a Threadripper, and it's Threadripper. you gotta say it that way.
Well, you know what? You gotta give AMD one big, huge credit for one thing. If it's nothing else, at least they got rid of those wind-up toys that they had for coolers on there, where it sounded like a weed whacker running all the time when they would fire up, and you could heat a whole room with them. You know,
That's
so
true.
they've done better improvement on that too.
I mean, I actually,
that was
yeah.
Derek,
or that
go
new
ahead.
32 core CPU they're coming out with, the one with 64 threads, you're probably going to need liquid nitrogen to cool that thing.
Yeah.
No, that was Intel.
Nah, it'll cool on air.
Intel actually did have to use liquid nitrogen.
Literally,
I think that was a 28 core. It was a 28 core that was overclocked.
But that was a Xeon.
It wasn't overclocked.
Yeah, but it was a Xeon architecture that they implemented to be able to support it.
Right. So it was super fake in multiple ways. And then AMD is like, oh, that's adorable. Here's a 32 core that actually works and is real.
Yeah,
and
but the thing is, air. It's the InfiniFabric gives them the ability, and then that means that they can run. So the way that it works is each one of the chiplets are independently managed, so that they can have their own independent thermal limits. So that each one of basically the way it works is think of having cookies on a baking sheet.
Delicious.
Yeah, delicious. Yeah.
I like cookies.
Okay, but if the oven is not evenly distributing the heat, one set of cookies on one side may still be raw, while other cookies are cooked perfectly, and then other cookies may be burnt. But you have to think
people like different.
I like burnt cookies, dude. I really do.
Right, but a monolithic CPU, the issue is that they don't have the ability to distribute the thermal envelope evenly across the monolithic.
So all of it gets burned.
So all of it gets burned. So you're.
So is that when you get a bread ripper?
No. Zeb. It's Threadripper.
No, bread ripper.
There it is. Threadripper.
Threadripper.
Hey, there's Ryzen 3, 5, and 7 for regular people, and there's Epic for the server. Who is who is Threadripper for? If Epic's for the server,
Threadripper is for
it's for elite hackers.
No, so Threadripper is actually what you would consider to be
in a world where YouTubers wanted to do ridiculous things, we created the Threadripper.
Now,
The Saturday Night Quilting Club.
Yeah.
When do the MPV coolers ever look like this? Right?
Well, that's the thing. I will tell you that a Threadripper will absolutely tear through a 1440p 120 FPS render. It will just destroy it.
It will rip it to threads.
It will rip it.
Those 400 gig video.
But
those 400 gig video files.
Oh yeah, the 400 gig video files. Okay, so here's the thing.
Update on the 400 gig video.
So, Michael, I've got a separate machine working on compressing and splitting those.
Okay,
that's happening.
Did MPV work?
Well, yeah.
That sounds very promising.
Out of him.
He started to load it, and it's still loading now.
Right.
It was last week.
So, if you want to know who Threadripper's for, Threadripper, in many ways, that a lot of high-end things are for. One, enthusiasts who can spend money on it because
crazy YouTubers. Is what I'm saying.
Awesome, but it also is really useful for some type of server applications that aren't necessarily servers, so personal servers that are
Bitcoin miners,
like rendering out. Yeah, well, I don't know.
So Threadripper actually fits in what they call the data science space. A lot of data scientists have been using server-grade hardware to actually do most of their computation, and Threadripper has the ability to support multi-GPU because of the amount of lanes that it has to be able to support. Plus, it also has advanced features that will allow it to be able to do things, but at the same time, it doesn't require the same kind of power envelope that, say, an Epic CPU would require. Also, Threadripper is a single chip system versus like Epic, which can be either a single, dual, or quad development solution. So there's
it's prosumer.
No, it's not really prosumer. As I said, it fits more in like the data science and sciences space. And you got to remember, with machine learning and all the other things that we're doing in that space.
Data simmer.
Okay, you're trolling me.
I'm gonna get Sumer in there.
So explain to me why I would want to spend £640 on a Threadripper.
A Threadripper.
If you have to ask that question, there's probably not an explanation.
Right. So it is one of those situations.
So you can rip threads.
You'll know when you need a thread.
Right. So if you were doing like computation of the genome, then you would want something like a Threadripper to be able to support the architecture that you need to be able to do, right?
So I don't need it for ETS2 then?
No.
Sure you do.
Okay. The more important question is, why don't you need a Threadripper?
Exactly.
Well,
If you can have it, you need it.
The thing is there is a threshold at which it's cores versus clocks, and while Threadripper is clocked really, really well, you will also run into downsides in a similar way that you can play AAA video games on a supercomputer, but it will be terrible.
Well, they actually have services now where you can do that.
Oh God.
Yeah, where you can have a computer at home and then you can stream from like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have streaming services.
It's a little, yeah, but that's a lot better managed than just like throwing it on like a.
Well, yeah, it does have certain things, but anyway, back to the question set for this
That's
is
all graphics cards anyway.
Yeah, but you still have to have the hardware, the underneath hardware, to be able to support it. Basically, if you need a Xeon to do the task that you're trying to do, but you don't need the heat issues, then Threadripper would probably be a better option because you'll get more resources at a single smaller package.
And you get to say Threadripper.
But here's the difference. Here's where I'm going to have a flip caveat. If you're playing video games or you're doing something that is limited, less than 4 cores or 4 threads required for that application to run at high. So basically, if you need quick computation and you're going to be using, say, I'll use an example of this. With a 1080 Ti, if you're going to be gaming, you will want a 8700K versus like something like a 2700X or a Threadripper or anything like that, because you're going to get more IPC per single thread set for the GPU. So the GPU is going to continue to get fed all the information that it needs, and it's going to get the best frame rates because it's able to do that, and they're going to be more stable. But if you're doing multitasking, so if you're like a streamer and you're playing video games at the same time, then you're going to really want a more stable frame rate. So you're going to do better using a Ryzen 7 2700 series.
Yeah, I ended up going with the 2700 because what I've ended up doing is I will play a game, Minecraft, and then I will record the video, which encodes it on the fly, as well as stream it. And in order to do that, you
need a Threadripper.
Not yet. Maybe I'll think about it.
Okay.
I can't believe you need such a high-end system to play Minecraft.
Well, you don't, but it's kind of like the thing is with
Minecraft can take 16 gigs of RAM.
And the pixels go up so much better.
Minecraft is specifically designed in a particular way of generating the visuals, not in pixels, but in something called voxels, which is ridiculously intensive to GPU and RAM, and also just CPU. So it can actually be, you can use Minecraft, and the only thing your computer does is Minecraft, and it can get to 100% maximum because of how much it requires to computate.
Fun
all
story
the
about that, though. It is relatively well optimized. Especially,
I'm saying you could do it. You could make it, like, the more you put into it, you could get to a point where it becomes excessive.
Yeah,
but like by default, they have it working on phones. So
yeah, and that's one of the good things, though, is like games typically allow you some flexibility as to how much performance they're going to require. I think Minecraft is one of the only games that actually has that kind of level of flexibility on the CPU side, where it's not more of just graphical fixability. Like most games, you can kind of tune the graphics, but not necessarily how the actual game itself handles things. So that's one of the reasons why having more cores, especially while you're playing games that are a little more not Minecraft, can kind of be useful.
So wobbly windows, right? So Rocco, what's the next agenda item for herding the cats? Like
dongles.
We have to actually pick what we're going to do next week. Anybody got any suggestions?
Snaps.
Void Linux.
Threadripper. Seb, we need to be serious here.
That Void Linux could be interesting.
Oh,
I would
really?
absolutely recommend nobody do that because you will not be happy.
Avoid Linux is also a
developers.
very specific type of intent for its usage.
And Void Linux was that bad that even the developer walked away.
Carl.
Oh.
Carl. What about next week?
How about at some point? How about an interview with Matt Dobson from Arch Labs?
Arch Labs, yeah, that'd be great.
We could also
matter of fact-
rip some threads.
Oh my gosh, Mike.
With Brett.
Actually, Arch Labs, the guy there, and I guess it's Matt. He commented on a couple Destination Linux videos. I'll have to see if we can work something out.
Cool.
What distro are we going to try? Are we going to try Arch Labs or what?
I plan to complete my challenge for Arco.
You didn't even.
We failed.
I downloaded the ISO, and that is the step one.
How could you complete something you never started?
I downloaded the ISO today.
It's just that good.
It's not a start.
So Arch Labs has a new Arch Labs has a new release coming out probably in a month or so. So maybe try it then. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
All right, what are we going to try?
For a month.
Open BSD.
No.
No.
No BSD.
Crazy.
True.
Yeah, guys, we have audio issues all the time with Pulse. BSD would be even worse.
BSD is horrible for sound. Trust me, guys.
It's really bad with audio.
You could just take out the 4 sound part and you're good.
No, I agree with you about the BSD being terrible for sound. I mean, just look at Apple.
Hey, what about one for the dark one? Let's all go to Sparky Manakwakwakuku, whatever that desktop is.
Mohawk Linux.
Okay, so why don't we all try Sparky and you know.
Manakwari, whatever it is. Yeah, Colin.
Manakwari. It is a GNOME 3 fork using like HTML5 layout UI.
Really?
Right.
Could you say that again in English, please?
Yeah.
It's a website.
It's a web page on a desktop.
Desktop environment.
It's a DE ripper.
If we want to throw a spanner in the works, we could all try elementary beta.
No, you can't.
We did that before, didn't we?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, we're not allowed to do that, are we?
I think I can bend the rules with this mug. It's like a gavel.
No, you can't bend the rules.
I don't know. My desktop right now is running Peppermint 9 on the Cosmic repositories.
Yeah,
Ooh.
So Sparky it is? Doesn't matter what desktop environment? Or what?
No, we've got to do the Manakwari thing for
I've
the
already
dark
done
one.
no, but I've tried that.
Yeah,
one
but
with the actual,
like
with the
So you get an exception to try the gaming edition.
No, but when we do these things in the past, we've done Interrogos and allowed people to choose which DE they
Okay.
Yeah, whatever DE.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So if we do Sparky, you can pick whatever DE you want. Zeb has to pick Manakwari.
Oh,
And just so that you know, when you do get into Sparky, there is a tool in there, and there's about 14 different desktops you can go for.
Yes.
Mhm.
You can
And
choose
also
Enlightenment. You can choose Plasma, LXDE, Monte, OpenBox. They're all available. So
Which Sparky are we referring to as well? Are we talking about the stable version or the rolling version?
The 5.3, whatever it is.
That's the rolling one. Okay.
They're rolling. Okay.
Oh, guys,
Hey,
just
I
an
will try.
FYI.
I have a laptop that I can do it on.
Nice. Sparky
I got a
Linux
spare
next
hard drive I
week.
can do it on.
Sparky Linux also ships UGit download manager by default. Good job.
Way to be.
Unrelated to the challenge, the good news brought up. Hey! Look, I'm doing new stuff. Cool. So Ubuntu's 1804.1.
That's my thing, sir.
Is supposed to come out this Thursday, or this coming up Thursday. So that might be nice. First point release for 1804.
Yeah.
That would be a good way we could do a test of 1604 upgrading to 1804 because that's the first time you're actually supposed to do it.
That's a good point.
Sparky's up to 5.4 on the rolling release.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, that works.
right. That's the one we're all going to do. We're all going to do the one based on Debian testing, not stable, right?
Right. The 5.4 version.
And
We're not
I
going to go
will
to there.
totally be participating in this one just as Rocco will be.
5.4.
Michael, I expect you to tell us you downloaded it next Saturday. So
It's possible.
He may get it downloaded by next week.
I might get it downloaded by next Saturday. If
I'm
I had
still
a
waiting for
Threadripper,
the.
I would
I'm
get it
still
done
waiting for
immediately.
the layout for tomorrow's Destination Linux show.
I didn't know that's ridiculous. You reminded me right before the stream started. It's so rude.
Why do you need to be reminded?
Because well, what did you click the record button?
Oh my gosh. Zeb, last word.
Last word is going to be more of a shout out because we all come here every week knowing it's going to be here. So this is just a huge big shout out to Rocco, Big Daddy Linux, and a thank you for supplying us this marvelous platform where we can come and chat every week.
Here, here.
Thank you, Rocco.
Thanks, Rocco.
Colin, last word.
It's going to be Arco Linux exploration this week. I'm just going to dig a bit further into it, I believe.
No. Sparky Linux, Colin. We're past.
Oh no, I'll do that. No, I'll be doing that
all right.
He's gonna do both. He's gonna double it. Like it.
That's
Chicken.
That's my last word.
You can expect great Linux and gaming content from Chicken over at youtube.com/ I don't remember the URL.
Tuxdigital.com/chicken.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yep. New content coming your way. Don't forget to like the smash button. Okay.
Oh,
like the smash button. That's right.
Michael, last word.
My last word has to be tuxdigital.com/Threadripper.
Oh my goodness.
I hear that one more time tonight. Joe,
Is that a real?
Yes, it is.
It will be.
It will be.
I'm on the Google domain site right now.
It is right now. It works.
Joe.
Hopefully, in a couple of days, I'll have the new machine up and running again. I did test it; it was running good. Otherwise, it's going to be a very long week, and I'm going to go through so much more deeper withdrawals without gaming with you guys. Threadripper is one thing, but listening to Michael during a game is even better. That's whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I miss it.
Dreaming Wolf.
I want to echo Zebedee with a thank you to Rocco and thank you to all of you for letting me come and play in this house.
You're welcome.
Michael. Ace, last word.
Yeah, for my $1 phone.
Say that again. We missed it.
How do you like my video for my $30 phone that I got from Walmart?
It's good.
It works, man. That's all that
It's a
matters.
bit square. It's a bit square, but it's good.
It's
$30 good. Yeah, fine.
Use what works.
It's pretty nice actually for $30.
Pretty decent.
Pretty good.
In my opinion, 16 by 10 is about right, as far as the common ones that are out nowadays, but
I agree.
16 annoys me
Peppermint OS.
sometimes.
Peppermint? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Peppermint OS.
Good man. You can come back.
And
Derek.
Do we download the home edition or the minimum or special on Sparky?
Pretty much whatever you want. Like the regular one. I'd say the regular 5.
The regular one's
Alright, this is my
LXQT.
first time using Sparky, so.
Oh, the home version is the main one.
All right.
Yeah, I'm
Derek.
looking forward to Sparky Linux next week. I like the LXQt desktop environment. Other than that, check out my channel. You guys can find it at tuxdigital.com/distro2.
That's right.
Yes. Frank.
I thank you guys for letting me be on here. I finally got the video to work for once. Of course, this is a different laptop, so
It's about time you get back on here, Frank.
no kidding.
Carl Schneider, you the man.
My last word is to Michael, actually. Don't forget to send me the email, and I have already a reply for the email that you sent, and that is ASRock.
Of course it is. Of course it is. I told him at the end of my stream I'm going to send her an email. I'm not going to forget. And I forgot.
Sister, last word.
Keep your threads ripping and your processors in order.
Hey, good job. I like that.
All right.
Shouldn't be hard. 2 of them.
Thank you, guys.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
Have a good week.
Well,
Remember,
it was fun.
the
Peace.
destination is just as important as the Threadripper.
Dreaming Wolf, before you go, check the Zoom chat. I've just sent you a message about your questionnaire stickers.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you next week, and we'll talk about Sparky Linux.
Threadripper.
And if Michael mentions Threadrippers one more time, I'm going to have to mute him.
Video where you just